Chapter 953. Huang Song rushed to Shisheng in a few steps, his thin yellow face full of anger. These files are important to the team. Why are you throwing them around? Shisheng glanced at him. This man used to pursue the original Shisheng. So the original Shisheng didn't like him. Later, when the female protagonist came, Huang Song became her follower. The original Shisheng always targeted the female protagonist, so Huang Song disliked the original Shisheng. Shisheng put on an evil smile. You know these are important files. Is it really okay to put them in my work area? Huang Song was speechless. There was a special place for files in the team, but because everyone was busy, they didn't have time to put them in their place. Sometimes they needed to use them, so they just put them here. Whoever needed them could come here to find them. You didn't come to work before. We just wanted to use them. Why do you throw them around? Huang Song's voice became louder. You probably thought he was right. You don't help me clean up my work area, but you don't allow me to do it myself? Why don't you go to heaven? Shisheng threw the last few files on the ground. These files shouldn't have been here. Even if she reported them to the higher-ups, she wouldn't be in trouble. You. Xiaosong, forget it. The others couldn't stand it anymore. They picked up the files and said sarcastically, Miss Qin has just been discharged from the hospital. Don't provoke her. We can't afford to take responsibility if something happens. Qinyu used to be very popular in the police station, but since the female protagonist came, her life became more and more difficult. The people in the police station didn't like her at all. Who do you think you are? Huang Song glared at Shisheng angrily. You think you're so great just because you have a backer? Do you think the police station is owned by your family? Stop talking. Let's move the files to the file room. Shisheng didn't care about these people's sarcastic remarks and turned on her computer. There were 2 cases in the criminal investigation team, but Shisheng was on vacation and didn't participate in them, so she was idle now. Shisheng was bored, so he could only play games. The police station's network was intranet, so the speed was very slow. It was terrible to watch. Qinyu, go and tidy up the information room. Shisheng was about to speed up the internet when someone suddenly appeared beside her and put a stack of documents on her desk. Shisheng's gaze followed the pair of hands and came face to face with a stern face. Especially the female lead. No. Shisheng lowered his head and continued to type on the keyboard. It's not my job. According to the rules of the police station, whoever used the information should sort it out. What right did she have to do it? Do you think you can order me around just because you're the female lead? Dream on. We don't have time. Don't you have nothing to do? UAI's face was taut, and her pronunciation was perfect. If one didn't look at her slightly tender face, they would think that she was a person with rich experience. Shisheng gritted his teeth and said, You can sort out the information you want. If you don't have time, do you think I have time? Can't you see I's busy? UAI glanced at her computer and saw that Shisheng had killed a player. A few dialog boxes popped up on the screen. You call this having no time? You even have time to play games. How could she play games if it wasn't right? How could you play games? UAI's expression became even more serious. Why can't I play games? She was a busybody. This is an intranet. You can't go online. The computers in the police station that could go online were all individual computers. They were different from the ones in the office. It's none of your business. How could such a small matter stump her? What a joke. Qinyu, you're violating the rules. Shisheng didn't think much of it. Then go ahead and sue me. You. What's going on? Hua Xiao came out of his office and saw UAI standing beside Shisheng's desk. He couldn't help but walk over. Mr. Hua, she's playing games. UAI pointed at Shisheng's computer. Shisheng raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at UAI meaningfully. The female lead had learned how to complain. This was too much. In the desperate counterattack mode, the plot was supposed to be delayed until the character she used died, but she didn't expect the main character to be even more frustrated. I'm not afraid that you'll be frustrated. I'm just afraid that you won't be frustrated. Let's cause trouble together. Hua Xiao looked at Shisheng's computer screen. This woman smashed his car this morning and was now caught playing games. He had never seen anyone so arrogant in front of him. Hua Xiao looked at the man behind him. Let Captain He handle this. You come with me. Yuai asked reflexively. Where are we going? Hua Xiao didn't say anything and walked out. Yuai looked at Shisheng and finally chose to follow Hua Xiao. He Xian was a middle-aged man. He looked like an amiable person, but he was actually very cunning. He Xian walked over to Shisheng. Xiao Yua, your injuries haven't healed yet, right? The team can approve your leave. Why don't you go back and rest before coming back to work? I'm fine. Then you can't play games in the office. It's against the rules. He Xian knew that the daughter of Shisheng's boss's boss was very tactful. Oh, then you'll get a demerit. Shisheng continued to play games. If there's nothing else, Captain He, please don't disturb me. He Xian. These children of officials were really difficult to deal with. After such a big incident, they still dared to come back to work. He Xian couldn't do anything to Shisheng. He could only run to his boss and tell him that if anything happened, he wouldn't be responsible. Not long after, Shisheng received a call from Qini. He was concerned about her situation here, and then scolded her for violating the rules. In a place like the police station, one could say that it was very serious, and one could say that it wasn't. Shisheng was taught a lesson, but nothing happened. Qini was not corrupt. On the contrary, he did a good job when he was in power. His only weakness was that he spoiled his daughter too much. This kind of setting was obviously that once Qinyu committed a crime, he would jump out to help her. In the end, he would be pulled down. Shisheng silently closed the game on his computer and took out his phone to play. When He Xian came back, he saw that Shisheng was not playing games. He was relieved. It seemed that the boss was still useful to deal with these children of officials. After work in the evening, Hua Xiao and Yuai didn't come back. They were doing a burglary case. The victim was an old man who lived alone. His son was outside and sent him a large amount of alimony every month. All the money in the house was stolen. The old man died inside. The cause of death was a blow to the head. According to the investigation, it should be that when the old man and the robber were fighting, the robber accidentally pushed the old man down. The old man's head hit the ground and died. It was said that there was some progress. The two of them probably went to look for clues and cultivate their relationship. The setting of this novel was a bit interesting. Both the male and female protagonists had facial paralysis. The two of them had facial paralysis together. The picture was too beautiful. This baby couldn't bear to look at it. * monthly votes. Pleading for votes. Together, the tickets could encircle the earth. Chapter 954. Shisheng was about to get off work when Huang Song suddenly rushed in. Brothers, let's go. Mr. Hua has found the suspect. The people who were about to get off work immediately grabbed their things and left with Huang Song. Shisheng's plot was getting more and more blurry, so she didn't know who the murderer was. She thought for a while, then followed the people's car all the way to the east of the city. The east of the city was still the old city area, so there were more alleys. The criminal investigation team's car drove to an alley and couldn't continue. They had to get out of the car and run through the alley. Shisheng got out of the car a step too late and was blocked by a vendor. When she reached the alley in front, the people were gone. There were only alleys that extended in all directions like a spider web. Shisheng put her hands on her hips, pouted and blew. She took out her phone from her pocket and hacked into the criminal investigation team system. The criminal investigation team used a set of systems. There was an online walkie-talkie. The people at the police station could hear it, and the people with walkie-talkies could also hear it. Shisheng figured out the direction they were running in from their conversation, and chased in that direction. Shisheng passed through two alleys and saw a police officer. He was lying in ambush around the corner with his back to her. Bang! The gunshot was very sudden. The police officer who was lying in ambush immediately rushed out. There were a few chaotic shouts and gunshots. A man stumbled around the corner and bumped into Shisheng. He covered his bleeding arm. When he saw Shisheng, his expression became fierce. He pointed the gun at Shisheng with his uninjured hand. Before he could say anything, his wrist cracked. The gun in his hand fell to the ground and slid under a bicycle. Shisheng bent her knees and bumped into the man. She grabbed his hand and pressed him against the wall. The police officers behind them caught up. When they saw Shisheng subduing the vicious man, they all had strange expressions. After a while, someone came forward and handcuffed the man. "Qinyu, why are you here?" "I was just passing by." Shisheng wiped the blood on his hands with a tissue. His eyes fell on Huashao and Uai in the distance. Uai was injured for some reason, but it didn't seem to be very serious. Most of the female lead's injuries were due to impulsiveness. "Isn't your home in the west of the city?" The police officer who asked the question was very puzzled. How could he pass by the east of the city? "Can't I have relatives in the west of the city?" Shisheng rolled his eyes at the police officer. The police officer was speechless. Why does he feel that Qinyu's temper has become more and more irritable after a month of not seeing him? Was it the aftereffects of the injury? The police officer felt that he should not argue with the injured, so he silently took the man away. "Why is she here?" Huashao looked at Shisheng with obvious displeasure in his eyes. No one would like a woman who smashed his car, and was so arrogant that she wanted to soar into the heavens. Qinyu said he was passing by. The police officer who heard the question was the one who had asked the Shisheng just now. He immediately responded, "But it's all thanks to her. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to catch this person." As the one who caught the suspect, Shisheng had to go back with them, but he still needed to search the crime scene, so he had to wait. "Xiao Ai, don't be so impulsive next time. You don't have a gun on you. What if something happens?" Huang Song and Uai were standing together and talking to her. "He wanted to run at that time, so I didn't think too much about it." Uai still had a serious expression on her face. Uai found the suspect first. The suspect wanted to run, and Uai wanted to stop him, but she didn't expect that the suspect had a gun. If Huashao and the others hadn't arrived in time, Uai would have been dead by now. In Shisheng's belief, no matter what he did, he always put his own interests first. Once it involved danger, he wouldn't do anything that he wasn't 100% sure of. Shisheng lowered his head and played with his phone while listening to Uai and Huangsong's conversation. His facial expression kept changing, and in the end, he couldn't listen to it anymore. He silently moved to the side. "Qinyu, help me take this upstairs." Huangsong suddenly handed a box to Shisheng. "You didn't call me." "I'm not going." Shisheng refused without raising his head. "I'm going to watch from below. Can't you take it upstairs since you have nothing better to do?" "No. Do you think you can order I around to do errands? I'm someone who can earn millions every minute." Huang Song's face darkened. "Qinyu, how can you be so unreasonable?" He was really blind to have liked her before. After Shisheng finished a round, she lifted her head and smirked. "It's time for me to get off work. I don't even get paid for helping you guys catch the suspect. Yet you want to order me around? Are you going to pay me?" "Damn you idiot. I'll go." Uai stood up. Huang Song immediately refused. "How can you do that? You're injured." "I'll take it upstairs." "Xiao Ai, you keep an eye on the ground. I'll be back soon." Uai nodded. Huang Song glared at Shisheng angrily, then took the box and walked towards a small building not far away. Shisheng glanced at Uai, then silently moved away a little. If he didn't stand with the female lead, he would be unlucky. Uai. What's with that expression? Is it disdain? But it doesn't seem like it. Her eyes are very calm, and there are no other emotions. Uai felt that the current Qinyu was completely different from the Qinyu in her memory. Some people would completely change after walking on the edge of life and death, but she, how should she put it? It gave her a dangerous signal, but she couldn't tell the details. "Xiao Ai, Mr. He wants you to come up." Huang Song waved at Uai from upstairs. The injury on Uai's arm wasn't serious, so she went straight upstairs. Shisheng waited for about half an hour downstairs before the people upstairs came down. They found some belongings in the suspect's residence, which indeed belonged to the deceased. But they didn't find anything else. When they returned to the police station, the group of people had very serious expressions. The arrested suspect was interrogated that very night. The suspect insisted that he had picked up the belongings, and he even said where he had picked them up clearly. The suspect was a gambler who owed a lot of debt. When he picked up the belongings, he immediately exchanged them for money. Because there were some expensive jewelry in the belongings, the police had already posted them on the internet. The buyer recognized the jewelry and called the police. Hua Xiao followed this lead and found the suspect. The suspect didn't go to the deceased's place at all. When the deceased died, he was at the gambling table, and someone testified for him. There were no fingerprints on the recovered jewelry, so this lead was broken again. Mr. Hua, the suspect should be a woman. UAI had mentioned this point before, and Hua Xiao didn't deny or agree. In order to be persuasive, UAI projected the video on the big screen. The video was at night, and the pixel quality was like an AV. UAI walked to the front and pointed at a black figure. She's wearing a raincoat, so I can't see her figure, but look at the way she walks. It's different from a man's. The black figure was at least 1.75 meters tall. There were very few women who were so tall. In addition, she was wearing a raincoat, so there was no way to see her figure clearly. It was normal for people to mistake her for a man. Chapter 955. Shisheng stood outside and watched their discussion through the transparent glass. The video on the big screen froze at one point. Shisheng rubbed his chin. It seemed that solving cases was quite fun. Host, don't stir up trouble. Shisheng wouldn't be Shisheng if he didn't stir up trouble. Shisheng returned to her seat and typed furiously on the keyboard. Soon, a video of what had happened inside appeared on the computer screen. In Quan community, Shisheng was munching on sunflower seeds and looking up at the old community. There weren't many people going in and out of the community, and it looked a little desolate. Bah! Shisheng spat out the sunflower seed shell and walked into the community. There was no property management in this kind of old community, so it was easy to get in. Shisheng took out his phone and matched the floor and the house number before knocking on the door. A young woman opened the door. She looked at Shisheng warily. Who are you looking for? Shisheng's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Police. Shisheng used to be a bad guy. Now that he could enjoy being a police officer, he was very happy. He had to show off. Police. The woman frowned and looked at her strangely. You don't look like a police officer. This girl was dressed very fashionably. She looked like a police officer in every way. Are you a bad guy just because you look like one? It was very rude to judge a person based on their appearance. It was also a very stupid thing to do. The woman shook her head slightly and said warily, Can I see your ID? Shisheng took out his ID from his pocket and handed it to her. The woman looked at it for a while before returning it to him. What can I do for you? Shisheng glanced inside. Is Su Xiaoxue here? The woman was relieved when she heard that he wasn't looking for her. Xiaoxue hasn't woken up yet. I'll go get her. Her name is Su Xiaoxue. 2 weeks ago, someone saw her meeting the victim outside the community. UAI handed a stack of documents to Hua Xiao. Hua Xiao flipped through it casually. What's her relationship with the victim? UAI paused for a moment and said with a straight face, Father and daughter. We've seen the children of the deceased. Where did this Su Xiaoxue come from? Huang Song raised his hand and asked. The deceased had an extramarital affair 20 years ago. UAI slowly told him what she had found out. When she finished, Hua Xiao stood up and said, Let's go to Su Xiaoxue's residence. When they arrived at the police station, they saw Shisheng, who hadn't come to work for a day, walking toward the police station with a woman. The woman was still in her pajamas, and her messy hair covered her face. Her body was trembling slightly, as if she was very afraid. The woman walked in front of them and raised her head, revealing a face that they had just seen. Her voice was choked with sobs. I'm here to turn myself in. Everyone. They hadn't even gone there yet, and the suspect had already delivered himself to their doorstep? Everyone couldn't help but look at Shisheng. Shisheng crossed his arms calmly and asked, What are you looking at? Qingyu, you're not in charge of this case. UAI spoke first. Her tone was very official. Isn't it our duty to catch the real culprit? Shisheng said seriously. If it weren't for her bad record, the system would have believed him. UAI retorted righteously. But this isn't your case. You're violating the rules. We'll investigate this matter. You just have to do what you're supposed to do. Shisheng sneered and said indifferently, I've already brought her back. If you're not convinced, let her go back and catch her again. UAI. What was that supposed to mean? Shisheng violated the rules and investigated the case without permission. Naturally, he was punished. However, he did find the real culprit and made up for his mistakes. In the end, the case was not pursued. Su Xiaoxue was the product of an extramarital affair. Her mother was originally a young lady from a city, and by chance she got together with the deceased. Later, Su Xiaoxue was born. The deceased hid it very well. For so many years, no one knew that he had an extramarital affair and had a daughter. When Su Xiaoxue was old enough to know that she was the child of a mistress, she gradually hated the deceased. She was rebellious and often asked the deceased for money when she was in school. At that time, Su Xiaoxue's mother was still alive. Every time she asked for money, the deceased would give it to her. Su Xiaoxue was addicted and asked for more and more money. However, after her mother died, the deceased stopped giving her money and told her not to come to him again. However, after Su Xiaoxue pestered him for a long time, the deceased would still give her money. He was also afraid that people around him would find out about this shameful affair. In old age, people paid more attention to their reputation. However, Su Xiaoxue's desire grew bigger and bigger, and the amount she asked for exceeded the deceased's expectations. He stopped giving her money. Su Xiaoxue went to the deceased several times, but the deceased refused to give her any more money. Su Xiaoxue was so angry that she wanted to kill him. She felt that her current situation was all because of the deceased. If she wasn't the child of a mistress, she might have lived a happy life, like those children from ordinary families who had parents and a happy family. The case wasn't difficult. It was just a coincidence that it rained that day, and the surveillance cameras in the residential building were broken. External factors made the case more difficult. After the case was closed, Shisheng was asked to write a 1,000-word self-criticism. She knew how to dig a hole, but how could she write a self-criticism? What did she do wrong? Was it wrong for her to catch the real murderer? No way. Shisheng pushed the keyboard away, picked up his things, and was about to get off work. Suddenly, it was dark in front of her. Hua Xiao's tall figure blocked her way. Qingyu. Hua Xiao was holding a file in his hand. His face was expressionless, as if someone owed him 8 million yuan. Shisheng put his phone in his pocket, turned off the computer, and said in a bad tone, What do you want? The male protagonist suddenly came to her. She was scared. He must be up to something. Hua Xiao threw the file in front of Shisheng and said coldly, Pay up in 3 days. Otherwise, this file will be sent to Director Qin. Shisheng blinked and opened the file. Inside was a damage assessment of the car and some compensation. Shisheng threw the file back and smiled. I'll say it again. I don't have money. If you have the ability, you can go and smash my car. King retard. If you don't block I's way, I won't smash your car. Now you want I to pay you money? No way. Not even a crack in the wall. You think I don't dare? This woman provoked him again and again. Did she really think he didn't dare to do anything to her? Shisheng pouted and blew at him. Go on then. Hua Xiao narrowed his eyes and said ambiguously, Very good. Hua Xiao took the file and left. The atmosphere around him was so tense that even UAI didn't dare to provoke him. Shisheng put one hand on the table and the other on his waist. He watched Hua Xiao leave in a domineering manner. After a while he looked away. Qingyu, come to my office. Xian stood at the door and called her with a bad expression. Chapter 956. Shisheng followed Xian into the office. Xian talked about Shisheng's violation of the rules for a long time, before finally getting to the point. Xiaoyu, how did you find out that Su Xiaoxue was the murderer? Shisheng rolled his eyes. I found out. How can I calculate? I'm not a scammer. Where did you find out? The police always cared about legality, but this time, Qingyu had obviously violated the rules. If she hadn't caught the murderer, she would have been suspended. Does it matter where I found out? Xian said seriously. We need to ensure the legitimacy of the evidence. This was the system. If the evidence was not legitimate, then it would not be valid, and some criminals would get away with it. But the evidence for this case was provided by Su Xiaoxua herself. She came here to turn herself in. What does that have to do with the evidence? Shisheng spread his hands. I'm just the person who persuaded her to turn herself in. He explained. What he said made sense. Then he changed the question. You're not in charge of this case. How did you get the information? Shisheng said innocently. I didn't take their information. I found it myself. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Why would I need the information of those idiots? He Xian's face was full of suspicion. You found it yourself? How did you find it? Shisheng took out his phone, tapped on it a few times, and put it in front of He Xian. It was a file containing the victim's life and relationships. There were also many charts and data that He Xian couldn't understand. Su Xiaoxua's information was in a separate folder. It was very detailed. These things. Where did you get them from? They didn't have such detailed information. I just need to do something. Shisheng put away his phone. Captain He, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Do something? How? Qin Yu, I'm telling you, don't mess around. This is not a place for you to fool around. He Xian raised his voice. Shisheng opened the door and looked sideways. There was a faint smile on his face. Captain He, don't worry. Even if I did something against the rules, you won't be able to find any evidence to do anything to me. He Xian. What did she mean? Was she telling him that she was up to something bad? He Xian and Shisheng's conversation took some time. When she went out, it was already evening. Shisheng went to the parking lot and found that her car was stuck inside. There were no cars parked outside, and moving a car couldn't save her stuck car. This trash parking space. Bad review. Why didn't I notice that there were so many police cars in the police station? Since he couldn't drive, Shisheng could only go out on foot. Shisheng stood outside the police station, looking at her phone. The light on the screen reflected her slightly ugly expression. It was not rush hour, but there was not a single car in sight. Are you kidding me? Did the car drive into the black hole? Shisheng waited for a long time before a car arrived. He learned from the driver that there was a car accident ahead, and the road was blocked. That's tragic. Everyone in the car is dead. I heard that there was a child in the car. He was only 7 or 8 months old. The driver kept talking about what he had seen. Shisheng went in one ear and out the other. He pretended not to hear anything. Because the road was blocked, they had to take a detour. It was almost 10 o'clock when Shisheng got home. Li Lan was waiting for her in the living room. As soon as she entered the door, Li Lan stood up. Baby, you're back. Why are you so late today? I took a detour on the way back. Dad hasn't come back yet? Li Lan looked upstairs. He just answered the phone and went to the study. You must be hungry. Mom will bring you something to eat. Go and wash your hands. Shisheng nodded and went to wash her hands. When she came out, Qin was holding his clothes and going downstairs. Are you going out again? Li Lan came out of the kitchen and saw Qin posture. She frowned slightly. Qin winked at Shisheng, strode to Li Lan and kissed her eyebrows. There are a lot of things going on in the station recently. My wife, please bear with me. When I'm done, I'll accompany you. In the end, he added, and show you. Shisheng. She was a third wheel. I refuse to eat this dog food. Be careful. Although Li Lan's expression was a little reluctant, she still told Qin. Got it, my wife. Qin put on his clothes and left. Not long after he left, Shisheng received a call from He Xian asking her to go back and work overtime. Shisheng refused to work overtime. So when Shisheng went the next day, he found that he suddenly didn't understand the world. She might not be awake yet. Should she go back and sleep again? The whole police station was full of all kinds of boxes. It was a mess. Everyone was looking down at the documents. It seemed that they hadn't slept all night. He Xian saw her with his sharp eyes and shouted, Qin Yu. This shout startled those who were dozing off to raise their heads and look at Shisheng. Everyone in the department was working overtime, and she was the only one sleeping at home. Some people felt that it was unfair. So what if she had a backer? If she didn't want to work, she should have stayed at home. Why did she come here to work? Shisheng walked to He Xian's small team. Ai and Huashao were both here. They had probably been here all night. Captain He Xian gestured for her to sit down and said to the others, "Continue." Shisheng listened for a while and understood that they were talking about the car accident last night. Shisheng also saw the news on his phone last night. The accident happened at a traffic light not far from the police station. A bus ran the red light and hit a normal car. There were 3 people in the car, a driver, a woman, and a baby. All 3 of them were dead. It was a traffic accident, but the identity of the woman and the child was very eye-catching. They were the wives of Dong Chun, the president of Dong's enterprise in B City. Dong's enterprise was the leader of B City and ranked among the top in the country. At this time, their Mrs. Dong and young master were killed in a car accident. Dong Chun couldn't believe it. He didn't believe that it was an accident and asked the police to give an explanation. The police's initial investigation found that it was a traffic accident. The responsible party was the bus. It ran the red light and hit the car. But Dong Chun didn't believe it. As a celebrity, he accused the police of being perfunctory in front of the media. The celebrity effect had always been the biggest. The police didn't want any negative news, so they could only investigate again. However, the results of the second investigation were a little surprising. They found a letter sewn in the child's swaddling clothes. The content of the letter was very short. People who have fallen into sin are trying to wash away their sins with new life, but they don't know that they follow them like shadows. There was an R signature after this sentence. The last letter was the one that caught the police's attention. The R was signed in a very special cursive style. This cursive style used to be a nightmare for the police station. Asterisk, I suddenly want to be stuck here. Ah, it's over. I must have been poisoned. Chapter 957. About 15 years ago, there was a man who called himself or who committed more than 10 crimes in the name of the messenger of justice. The police spent a lot of money and resources to track this R. However, the police were always one step behind R. They didn't even know if R was a man or a woman. In the end, they were set up by R and lost several colleagues. R disappeared and never appeared again. The police investigated for a while but couldn't find anything, so they could only seal the file. Now after 15 years, R appeared again. The police took this matter very seriously. Now their entire department was focused on this case. Shisheng stared at R's signature for a long time. He didn't look away until He Xian finished speaking. He Xian was calling out names and assigning tasks. Qin Yu and Ai will investigate the victim's interpersonal relationships. He Xian pointed at Shisheng. Shisheng refused instinctively. No, something bad will happen if I stay with the female lead. I won't do it. Stay away from the female lead and cherish life. He Xian stared at Shisheng seriously. Qin Yu, I'm the captain. I'll follow your orders. Ai will come with me. Huashao, who had been silent all this time, spoke up. He Xian. He still had the guts to scold Shisheng, but he didn't dare to scold Huashao at all. He could only assign Ai to him. He Xian assigned Shisheng an old criminal police officer who looked quite mature. Everyone called him Old Zhang. He joined the police in the same batch as He Xian, but because of his quiet personality, he didn't get promoted. Let's go to the Dong family first, Old Zhang said as he packed up. He Xian assigned them the task of investigating the victim's interpersonal relationships. I'm not going. Shisheng sat in his seat and played on his tablet. The background music of the game drifted into Old Zhang's ears. Old Zhang. The host used to be an idle rich girl in the police station. Even if she was assigned a task, it would be completed by someone else in the end. Then I'll go by myself. Old Zhang didn't complain. He glanced at Shisheng and left with his things. Almost everyone left. The whole office was quiet, and only the background music of the game was left. Old Zhang came back in the evening. Shisheng was still in his seat. He wasn't playing games. He was eating melon seeds. Shisheng glanced at Old Zhang and asked calmly, "What did you find out?" Old Zhang shook his head. The victim's interpersonal relationships were very simple when she was alive. She got pregnant not long after she married Dong Chun. She had been taking care of the baby at home and had no enemies. The chauffeur had worked for the Dong family for several years. He was usually very nice to people and didn't make any enemies. We still need to investigate the people who had contact with the deceased, Shisheng concluded. In other words, there's no useful information. Although old Zhang didn't want to admit it, it was true. The mission belongs to you and brother Zhang. Why didn't you go? Yuai looked up at Shisheng. Yuai came back earlier than Lao Zhang. When she heard Shisheng's question, she felt that it was unfair for Lao Zhang. The two of them were on a mission, but she was alone in the office. It's none of your business whether I go or not. Shisheng rolled his eyes at Yuai. Yuai stood up immediately, her tense face angry. This concerns a human life. How can you be so casual? Otherwise, can I die for them? There was definitely something wrong with this female lead. Old Zhang saw that the atmosphere was not right and quickly tried to smooth things over. Forget it, I can do it alone. Xiao Ai, stop talking. Brother Zhang. Old Zhang waved his hand, indicating for Yuai to stop talking. Yuai met Shisheng's teasing gaze and the anger in her heart burned even more. They did this job to restore the truth and redress the grievances of the people. A person like her was simply an insult to this profession. Yuai glanced at old Zhang, who sighed and shook his head. Yuai moved her lips and sat back down with a frown. Shisheng smiled and didn't say anything else. He continued eating melon seeds. Old Zhang returned to his seat and tidied up today's things. The others from the police station came back one after another. Xian asked everyone to enter the meeting room for a meeting. The others didn't make much progress. Other than the letter found in the baby's swaddling clothes. Everything else looked like a traffic accident. Mr. Hua, didn't you find anything either? Xian looked at Huashao. No, Yuai answered for Huashao. Xian then looked at Ol Zhang, his gaze sweeping over Shisheng. Ol Zhang, what about you guys? Lu Fan, male, 45 years old, from City Y. He was sentenced to 10 years for manslaughter. After he was released, he used a fake identity to be Dong Chun's chauffeur. Shisheng interrupted old Zhang and said slowly. On the night of August 23rd, Lu Fan received a text message asking him to meet at this place. Wait a minute, where did you get this? Yuai's question was also what everyone else was puzzled about. This girl had been in the office all this time, and only went out for a meal halfway. Where did she get this information? Old Zhang was also dumbfounded. He didn't know about this at all. The chauffeur he found didn't have so much inside information. Did he meet a fake chauffeur? Do you want to listen to me? Shisheng raised his eyebrows and looked at Xian. Or do you want to investigate it yourself? Yuai. Go on. Shisheng shifted to a more comfortable position. The person Lu Fan went to meet was obviously very cautious. There were no surveillance cameras at the meeting place. You can only ask Lu Fan about what they talked about, but it's obvious that Lu Fan isn't innocent. Evidence. Xian emphasized the word evidence. These things couldn't be solved by just saying. Shisheng tapped on the tablet a few times and a few pictures immediately popped up on the big screen. Lu Fan has a mother who is seriously ill. He needs a lot of money. This is the medical list for Lu Fan's mother. It can be seen that before the 25th, the treatment was conservative. But from the 25th, the hospital has been preparing for the operation. Shisheng swiped his finger, and the pictures on the big screen changed. The cash flow under Lu Fan's name. A large sum of money entered on the 25th. He's just a chauffeur. How can he have so much money? Of course, it's also possible that he bought a lottery ticket and won the first prize. Lu Fan used a fake name. His card here was also opened with that fake ID. Naturally, the police didn't find anything fishy. Shisheng closed the picture. What are the rest of the pictures? Xian quickly asked. He clearly saw that there were a few more pictures. Shisheng spread his hands. You need to investigate what I said just now to know what the rest is. There was too much information. These idiots were confused. Most importantly, she hadn't finished investigating the rest of the pictures. How could she say such things out loud? Asterisk hashtag thank you Cherub for your New Year's greetings hashtag please vote. Hashtag it's the end of the month. I can vote now. I've already saved it for the new year. Hashtag. Chapter 958. Captain He, can we trust what she said? After Shisheng left, these people raised their questions. He Xian was also a little uncertain. Mr. Hua, what do you think? He Xian looked at Hua Xiao. Hua Xiao's slender fingers tapped on the table. We can investigate Lu Fan. Now, other than the letter, they had nowhere else to start with. He Xian thought about it and nodded. Huang Song, take 2 people with you to investigate Lu Fan. The rest of you continue to investigate the previous cases. Sort out the old files as soon as possible, so that everyone can familiarize themselves with them. He Xian was silent for a few seconds. His expression became serious and his voice was low. I want to remind everyone that if we really meet our 15 years ago, you have to be prepared. R is an extremely vicious person. It's not too late for someone to back out now. Everyone looked at each other for a moment. UAI was the first to step forward. Captain He, I won't back down. Since a young girl had already expressed her stance, how could the others dare to back down? He Xian waved his hand. Okay, the meeting is over. Everyone left the meeting room one after another, but Hua Xiao didn't move. He stared at UAI, who was packing her things, his gaze deep and probing. Mr. Hua, is there something on my face? UAI picked up the documents and met Hua Xiao's gaze fearlessly. Hua Xiao stood up and put one hand in his trouser pocket. He looked down at UAI. What feud do you have with R? UAI's pupils contracted slightly. After a moment she said, Mr. Hua, it's my duty to catch criminals. Is that so? Yes. Hua Xiao strode out of the meeting room. UAI hesitated for a few seconds and chased after him. Mr. Hua, don't you think the source of Qin Yu's information is suspicious? According to her colleagues in the bureau, she had gone out for lunch today. It had been less than an hour. Where did she get so much information from? What do you think? Mr. Hua, it's precisely because I don't have it that I'm asking you. Hua Xiao didn't reply and walked forward with his head lowered. UAI frowned. Mr. Hua, ever since the incident last time, Qin Yu's behavior has been particularly strange. Hey! A crisp voice came from the side. What's the point of talking about me behind my back? If you have the ability, come and talk about it in front of me. UAI's expression stiffened. She looked at the pantry next to her. She never thought that her words would be caught red-handed by the person involved. Shisheng looked at her with a half-smile. Miss Yu, you can ask me directly if you have any questions. I won't tell you anyway. Hua Xiao also stopped and looked in her direction. There was a complicated look in his eyes. UAI blurted out. Where did you get this information? It's none of your business. The smile on Shisheng's face deepened. Why should I tell you? These policemen in the police station basically had their own informants. As long as the evidence was confirmed to be legal and valid, the police had the right to protect the informant's privacy. UAI opens her mouth. At the bottom of her heart, she is only wondering where Qin Yu got this information. After all, the impression Qin Yu gave her before was that of an unreasonable rich young miss. UAI, Hua Xiao called out. Let's go. UAI's stiff body immediately leaned towards Hua Xiao. The tense expression on her face relaxed slightly. Just now, she couldn't say a single word in front of her. It was not because she had nothing to say, but because she had an aura about her. Just like the aura on Hua Xiao that could make people shut up invisibly. But compared to Hua Xiao, her aura was more obscure, difficult to understand, and also more frightening. After investigating Lu Fan carefully, they found that this person was just as Shisheng said. He had been in prison before and had a seriously ill mother. After asking the doctor, they found out that Lu Fan had paid all the hospitalization fees, and even hired a caretaker for his mother. The contract was as long as 3 years. In other words, he knew that he would die long ago. This was a premeditated murder. Mr. Dong, please think carefully. Did your driver do anything unusual? The man who was being questioned had a face full of anger. You keep asking this question over and over again. I said no. Are you done? When will this case be solved? This was the deceased's husband, Dong Chun. Mr. Dong, the police are working hard, but please cooperate with the investigation, okay? Haven't I cooperated with your investigation? With one call from you, I left an important company meeting and came over. But what about you? It's the same questions over and over again. There's no progress at all. Mr. Dong. Don't talk to me. Ask your leader to come out. Before the police officer could answer, a calm voice interrupted. The leader is very busy. Dong Chun looked at the person who spoke and frowned. Who are you? The granddaughter of one of the Dong Group's competitors. Shisheng spat out these words slowly. Dong Chun was a little stunned. It took him a while to understand. You're Qinyu? The only real competitor of Dong's was the Li family, and the Li family only had one granddaughter. It was not difficult to guess. Li Lan's husband was Qinyi, so it was not surprising that his daughter was here. Shisheng nodded slightly with a faint smile on his face, but his eyes were calm. Dong Chun frowned slightly. He had seen Qinyu before, but there were too many people at that time, so he did not remember what the girl looked like. But at this time, the girl in front of him was too calm. Is the efficiency of your police station so slow? Dong Chun barely suppressed his anger, ignored the police officer next to him, and talked directly to Shisheng. Indeed, it's a little slow. Shisheng nodded in agreement. Dong Chun almost choked on his saliva. Is she a police officer or not? The police officer next to him was also speechless. Their efficiency is low. You do it. It's easy for you to talk. Mr. Dong, do you want to hurry up? Dong Chun sneered a little disdainfully. What can Miss Qin do? Even if your father is Qin Yi, he can't give you too many special rights. Dong Chun's words surprised the people next to him a little. Most people only knew that Shisheng had a background, but they didn't expect that she was the daughter of the director. Well, both of them had the surname Qin. The main reason was that there were several people with the surname Qin in the bureau. No one thought of Qin Yi. After all, Qin Yi looked like a very fair person. He didn't look like someone who would let his daughter go through the back door. It's really unexpected that you can't judge a book by its cover. Shisheng looked at Dong Chun with a faint smile. Mr. Dong, you don't have to provoke me. I'm not that stupid. You made a scene in front of the media before. Didn't you want to drag my father into the water? Now you want to provoke me. Mr. Dong, you're playing a good trick. Qin Yi was the son-in-law of the Li family. If there was any negative news about him, the Li family would also be implicated. Damn it, bitch. Chapter 959. Dong Chun's expression darkened when he was exposed. Before he could flare up, Shisheng spoke again. Mr. Dong, if you really love your wife and child, you would either be drunk or at the news agency right now. But you're actually in the mood to attend a meeting, and even want to scheme against the Li family. From this, it can be seen that your wife and child are just SOSO in your heart. The surrounding people in the background all looked at Dong Chun strangely. The Dong family and the Li family were competitors. Everyone knew that in their jobs, they would have to deal with these big companies. However, they didn't think about the business aspect of this matter at all. Shut up. Are you angry because I guessed correctly? Shisheng smirked. I was just guessing. Mr. Dong, you don't have to be so agitated. Dong Chun was speechless. This woman. Shisheng smiled at him. Mr. Dong, can you cooperate with the investigation now? Dong Chun was an experienced businessman. He had only lost his composure because Shisheng didn't play by the rules. Now that he had calmed down, he immediately resumed his business elite mode. What do you want to know? He didn't take the initiative to tell them. Instead, he asked them what they wanted to know. He had the initiative firmly in his hands. Shisheng shrugged. I don't want to know anything. Dong Chun was speechless. If you don't want to know anything, why are you interfering? Mr. Dong, I have a few questions to ask you. AI appeared out of nowhere and stood in front of Shisheng. Dong Chun was so angry that his chest hurt. After a while he said, Ask away. Mr. Dong, did you go to Furong House on September 5th? Dong Chun thought for a while. Yes, I went to congratulate my business partner, Shang Sheng. Did you bring your wife along? Dong Chun shook his head. No, I went alone that day. Dong Chun felt that something was wrong and immediately asked, why are you asking this? UAI took out a few photos from her laptop. This is the surveillance footage of Furong House on September 5th. Your wife went there on that day. Did she mention that she would go there? Dong Chun took the photo. Because the camera's resolution wasn't very high, the photo was a little blurry. However, for someone who had lived with him for a long time, Dong Chun recognized that the person in the photo was his wife. What is she doing here? Dong Chun frowned. From the photos, she seemed to be very nervous. Her actions were also very suspicious. No matter how he looked at it, she seemed a little abnormal. UAI observed Dong Chun's expression and slowly said, according to our investigation, she should have followed you. Mr. Dong, why did the deceased follow you to Hibiscus House? Dong Chun's expression immediately became surprised. You're saying she followed me? UAI nodded slightly. But I asked her before I went. She said that I wouldn't take her if she didn't go. Why did she follow me? Dong Chun looked even more confused than the police on their side. Crunch, crunch. Maybe she thinks you're keeping a mistress and wants to catch you in the act, Shisheng said while munching on melon seeds. Miss Qin, please don't say such things again. Dong Chun scolded coldly. I love her very much, but ever since she gave birth, she has been suspicious. Dong Chun's statement was consistent with the deceased doctor's statement. After giving birth, the deceased suffered from postpartum depression. Shisheng looked at Dong Chun with a faint smile. Dong Chun felt very uncomfortable. He felt that his gaze was penetrating. That's all I know. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. If you need anything, you can contact my lawyer. Dong Chun just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Dong Chun left in a hurry. UAI looked at the statement in her hand. She seemed to be puzzled by something. Her brows were tightly knitted. Crunch, crunch. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Can you be quiet for a while? UAI couldn't concentrate because of the noise of the melon seeds. She said to Shisheng, crunch, crunch. It'll be quiet if you go out. UAI was furious. This is a place to work, not a place for you to eat melon seeds. Shisheng looked calm. There's nothing in the rules that says I can't eat melon seeds in the office. When there was nothing to do in the bureau, these people would also eat melon seeds together. Why couldn't she eat them? You're disturbing us. You're disturbing me too. What did I disturb you? UAI gritted her teeth. Eating melon seeds. UAI. Not only did Qin Yu's personality change, but his words were also more irritating than before. UAI glared at Shisheng for a few seconds, then sat back angrily and tried to focus on the work in front of her. But the crunching sound never stopped. She packed up her things and went to the empty meeting room. Ding! Shisheng's phone on the table lit up. Shisheng glanced at it, threw away the melon seeds in his hand, clapped his hands, and picked up the phone to open a message. Receipt. Shisheng exited the message, got up and walked out of the door. The old man in the mailroom was sorting out the package that had just been received. Seeing her come out, the old man immediately handed her a file bag. Qin Yu, you're just in time. Here's your package. Shisheng took the file from the old man and opened it directly. There was a USB flash drive and a magazine inside. Shisheng rummaged through the contents and walked in with the stuff. When UAI came back, she saw Shisheng sitting in his seat and reading the magazine carefully. She felt a little strange. Before, she was either playing games or eating melon seeds. Why was she reading so quietly now? When she came closer and saw what she was reading, her face immediately turned red. Qin Yu, how can you read this in the office? UAI scolded. Fuck. Shisheng was scared by the sudden scolding. His hands trembled. What's wrong with you? I was scared to death. UAI pulled a long face and said seriously, I'm not afraid of ghosts knocking on my door if I don't do anything wrong. UAI walked past Shisheng. Hey, I haven't even started to open the package yet. Why does the heroine like to bump into the muzzle of the gun? I must have met a fake heroine. Shisheng was wondering if he had met a fake heroine when he called him into the office again. When Shisheng raised his head, He saw Yu Ai coming out of He Xian's office. She glanced at Shisheng and walked back to her seat with a straight face. Damn it, she's complaining again. Shisheng was scolded by He Xian for reading pornographic novels in the office. If it were someone else, they would have been scolded directly. My dear lady, I've troubled you. If you don't do anything, can you stop causing trouble for me? He Xian had a headache. He just wanted to understand Dong Chun's case and catch her. What did I do? Shisheng was innocent. She was just reading a book. Who was she bothering? You're a public official. What did you do when you read illegal books in the office? Asterisk Feng Xi. Why would my wife rather read pornographic novels than look at me? Little fairy. You didn't even show up. Feng Xi. When do I show up? Little fairy, not showing up. Feng Xi. Why? Little fairy, because they don't vote. Cherub, fancy ads rejected. Chapter 960. Shisheng was scolded by He Xian for a long time before he let her go. Shisheng returned to her seat dejectedly and rested her chin on her hand, thinking about life. What should she do now? Side task. Why did you jump out? Go back. I don't accept this task. Host's character is too low. You don't have the right to reject the side task. Shisheng. Tell me, what's the punishment? She had to weigh the pros and cons first before she decided to reject the task. Same old rules. If she didn't accept the task, she would lose all her points. She didn't know why she suddenly wanted the host to reject the task. As a system, how could it have such thoughts? It was an upright system. It couldn't have such dangerous thoughts. Shisheng. Couldn't she change it to something new? Why did she use this trick every time? How could there be so many times? This method was only used once. Don't tell the system that it was useless. Obviously, it was still useful. She didn't want to lose the points she had saved with great difficulty. Therefore, after thinking for a while, Shisheng accepted the task. Find out the identity of R and punish him. Was R a person or an organization? There seemed to be a lot of information about R in the police station, but in fact it was all about the cases he had committed. There was basically no information about R, no gender, no age, no height, nothing. Shisheng didn't believe that R was the same person who had committed so many crimes without leaving any traces. If he was really the same person, then he was really a pervert. Host's character is too low. The system can't provide any clues. Character my ass. You look down on people with low character, don't you? Yes. Shisheng. Just you wait, System I'm not scared of you. The system is going offline. Before Shisheng could greet the system's family, someone called for a meeting. He Xian suddenly called for a meeting because Hua Xiao had found something new. They found out that Lu Fan had been in contact with a vice president under Dong Chun. And the person who had transferred the money to Lu Fan was that vice president. Qinyu, you haven't finished what you wanted to say before. Can you say it now? He Xian looks at Shisheng, who has been absent-minded all this time. Shisheng gathered her scattered thoughts and tapped on the tablet in front of her with her fingertips. The picture on the big screen suddenly changed. Isn't this the commercial development project in the east of the city? Someone recognized the photo. Next, I'll show you something interesting. Shisheng swiped his finger, and the photo on the screen suddenly turned into a large-scale photo of a boat. Everyone. This was interesting. What was the meaning of showing them the pornographic photos? Shisheng quickly changed the topic and said calmly, sorry, my hand slipped. Everyone. Who would believe that your hand slipped? The photo changed again. This time, it was no longer a photo of the boat. It was a F*King photo of the scene of a massacre. Shisheng switched to a few photos of the same scene. The only difference was that the people, the scene, and the time were different. Every picture was marked with a date. According to the chronological order, there were a total of 5 cases from June to December last year. What does this have to do with the case we're investigating? Huang Song asked. We're talking about the Dong Corporation's case now. Shisheng glanced at Huang Song. It was a very calm look without any emotion, but Huang Song shivered and didn't dare to make a sound. Shisheng retracted his gaze and said unhurriedly, These 5 cases were all closed as accidents in the end. They don't seem to be related, but they are all related to this commercial district that is about to start construction. The 5 people who died all owned a property in this commercial district. At the same time, they were also residents of the commercial district who were unwilling to sell the land to the Dong Corporation. However, not long after their deaths, their families sold the land and received a generous compensation. This wasn't an accident, He Xian immediately added. Hua Xiao looked up at Shisheng with a complicated gaze. He had just found out that there was a problem with the Dong Corporation's project, but he hadn't found out about it yet. But she had already found out about it. Hua Xiao's fighting spirit was ignited in the depths of his heart. He looked at Shisheng with a burning gaze. He Xian ordered someone to bring the information about these 5 cases. According to the information, the way these 5 people died was very normal because they weren't the only ones involved in the accident. Many passers-by were also implicated, either seriously injured or killed. Usually, a group accident wouldn't make people suspect that it was premeditated. If Shisheng hadn't mentioned in advance that these 5 people were related to the commercial district, they would also have thought that it was an accident. If this was premeditated, then it's too scary. It wasn't just 5 people who died. There were many innocent passers-by. I don't understand. The Dong Corporation is so rich. Even if they asked for a high price, they didn't have to kill all of them. Someone raised a question. The answer may be found on that vice president. Shisheng looked at the time. If you don't take action, someone may kill you. What do you mean? He Xian was shocked. You don't hide it. What do you know? I don't know anything. I don't have the ability to predict the future. Shisheng paused. But, the person in charge of that project is that vice president. If I'm the mastermind, I will definitely get rid of him before the police find him. He Xian looked at Shisheng in surprise. He felt more and more that this girl had the tendency to commit a crime. How did the mastermind know that we found the vice president? The meeting room was silent. Shisheng stood up first. It's obvious that there's a mole. The people who worked on these 5 cases back then couldn't have not noticed that something was wrong after the victims were all from the same place. They were either bribed or threatened. So, after eliminating the suspects who came in later, it's most likely you guys. The original Yu came in last August. The female lead and Hua Xiao came in even later, so there was no suspicion. Everyone present looked at each other in dismay. Why was this plot development so unexpected? Before they could recover from one shock, they were immediately plunged into another one. Yu. He Xian saw that Shisheng wanted to say more, so he quickly interrupted her. Arrest them first. Everyone hand over your phones. Use the team's walkie-talkie. Everyone handed over their phones in silence. Yu, it's yours. He Xian saw that Shisheng was still holding her tablet and scolded him with a straight face. Captain He, if I'm a mole, it's too late for you to ask me to hand it over now. If I wanted to send a message, I would have done it long ago. He Xian thought about it. This girl was the director's daughter. How could she be a mole? He was ready to acquiesce to Shisheng's actions, but now AI was unhappy. We're on the same team. We should do everything in line. If something happens, who will take responsibility? Chapter 961. Yu, give it to me. He Xian winked at Shisheng. Even if you have someone backing you, you'd better listen to him at a time like this. Oh my God, don't make trouble. Shisheng hesitated for a moment, and threw the tablet to He Xian. He Xian put it away and said, let's go. Shisheng didn't need to go out to the field, but He Xian asked him to go. When they arrived, Shisheng refused to get out of the car, so He Xian had to let him stay in the car. After they left, Shisheng got out of the car and walked in another direction. He went around the corner and walked to a place that looked like a back door. It was a KTV. The back alley was very dark. Shisheng pulled the door, but it couldn't be opened. It was probably locked from the inside. Waiting was boring. Shisheng didn't know how long he had been waiting. Suddenly, the back door was opened, and a figure rushed out. Before he had time to identify the direction, a cold light flashed in front of him. He felt a sudden pain in his abdomen and was kicked back inside. The criminal steadied himself. A black mask covered most of his face, only revealing his eyes. "Get out of my way, or I'll kill you." The criminal deliberately changed his voice to sound a bit strange. "I'm not blocking you." Shisheng gestured with his sword. "We're still so far away." The criminal. He estimated the distance between himself and the door and Shisheng's position. She didn't have a gun. If he was fast enough, he should be able to escape. "Police, don't move." Suddenly, Yuai caught up from behind and pointed her gun at the criminal. The criminal was startled by her shout. He raised his gun and fired at Yuai. Bang! Bang! After 2 consecutive gunshots, the criminal took the opportunity to rush towards the door and fired a shot at Shisheng in an attempt to force her away. Shisheng blocked the bullet with his iron sword. The bullet bounced off the iron sword and didn't even leave a mark. The horror in the criminal's eyes was no less than when he saw a monster. This was a scientific society. Anyone would be shocked to see such a strange scene. Just as he was hesitating, the sword suddenly slashed at him. The criminal was forced to retreat inside and rushed to Yuai in a few steps. Yuai had just been shot by the gangster. At this time, she had no strength to resist. She was rudely pulled up from the ground by the gangster and put the gun to her forehead. At this time, the police arrived and pointed their guns at the criminals. "Back off." The criminal's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. "All of you back off. Put the gun down." He Xian shouted. "You have nowhere to run. It's not too late to turn yourself in. Don't hurt the innocent. If you don't put down the gun, I'll kill her." The gangster was obviously a veteran and didn't listen to He Xian at all. His index finger had already begun to press down. "Put down the gun." He Xian made a prompt decision. He slowly loosened his hand and slowly put the gun on the ground. The criminal retreated. He kept looking behind him from the corner of his eyes. The woman who had been standing outside earlier had disappeared. It was as if she had never appeared. If he went out like this, what if she was lying in ambush outside? Ask the people outside to come out. There's no one outside. He Xian looked at the criminal nervously, afraid that his hand would shake and kill Yuai. Bullshit, there's a woman outside. Ask her to come out. He wouldn't be at ease if he didn't see her. He Xian didn't arrange for people to be at the back door. At this time he was confused. Where did this woman come from? You can't escape. Even if you run out, there's an inescapable net waiting for you outside. Because of the pain, Yuai's face was a little pale, but she was still calm. Think about your family. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life in prison? Shut up. The criminal shouted and threatened Yuai. If you dare to say another word, I'll kill you. You won't. You still need me as a hostage. Yuai was very sure. The criminal pinched Yuai's wound. He stared at Yuai viciously like a poisonous snake. Shut up. Ask her to come out. He Xian. Ask who to come out. He Xian's brain quickly turned. Thinking of something, he tentatively called. Qin Yu? What? Shisheng walked out of the darkness. His iron sword hit the ground, making a crisp sound. He Xian. It's really her. Didn't you say you wouldn't come? Why is she here? You go over there, hurry up. The criminal pointed at Shisheng and asked her to go over to He Xian. I'll go over just because you asked me to. How dare you? Shisheng sneered. If you don't go over, I'll kill her. Ming Shu shrugged and walked over to the main group. Hurry up. If you shout again, I won't go over. The criminal. Why was she threatening him instead? Who was the culprit here? Ah. The criminal suddenly screamed and let go of Yuai, but the next second he pulled her back. Yuai anxiously hit the criminal's eyes with her elbow. The criminal felt the pain and completely let go of Yuai. Yuai immediately broke free from him and ran toward the main group. The police quickly rushed forward and subdued the criminal. The criminal was pressed to the ground. He turned his head and glared at Shisheng fiercely, as if he wanted to stab Shisheng to death. He was distracted by Shisheng, so Yuai took advantage of the loophole. Shisheng smiled sweetly at the criminal. I really hope you kill the FL Sama. The criminal was taken away. UAI was also sent to the hospital. The man they caught was not the vice president. When they arrived, the vice president was already dead. This man ran away as soon as he saw them. Wasn't it obvious that something was wrong? He Xian walked to Shisheng. Why are you here? Didn't she refuse to come down? He ran away when I wasn't here. Wasn't this the plot in novels? If you didn't block the back door, you would have wasted your time. As a veteran player who knew the plot well, if she didn't have this common sense, how could she play the game? Although what she said made sense, He Xian still felt that something was wrong. He Xian looked down. Is this a toy sword? Shisheng raised the sword and slashed at the back door in front of them. The whole door was cut in two. Half of it fell to the ground, while the other half was still standing. He Xian. This wasn't a toy. She was holding a real sword and waving it around. Most importantly, he didn't know where she kept the sword. It was so long. It didn't look like a soft sword. She couldn't have wrapped it around her waist, right? Captain He. Someone called He Xian from afar. He glanced at Shisheng. I'll deal with you when we get back. Let's go. Shisheng dragged the sword and followed He Xian. She took 2 steps and stopped. She frowned slightly and touched her chest. There was a throbbing and a little uncomfortable. Feng Xiai, Shisheng looked at the alley behind them. It was dark and led to nowhere. But it was very quiet. There was no movement. I'm stuck here again. Chapter 962. The end of the alley was blocked, and there was a building behind it. There was no way to get there. Standing in the dark, Shisheng slowly closed his eyes and relaxed his mind. All the buildings in the dark seemed to shrink and appear in his mind. After a long time, Shisheng suddenly opened his eyes, turned around and ran out of the alley. Get in the car, Qingyu. He Xian, who had not left, called out to Shisheng. However, the latter quickly ran past him without leaving a single word. He Xian. Was there a ghost chasing after him? Why did he run so fast? Wait, where are you going? Shisheng ran out of the alley and followed the busy street to the entrance of another alley. This alley was deeper and deeper than the previous one. The noise was getting softer and softer, and the surroundings gradually became silent. Slash. A sharp sound came from the darkness, accompanied by intermittent gasps. The air was filled with the smell of blood. It was very strong. Shisheng quickened his pace and turned a corner. Suddenly, a light appeared in front of him. Under the light, a figure was crawling on the ground. The ground was covered in blood, and beside him stood a man in black. Shisheng's sudden appearance startled the man. He immediately turned around and ran. Shisheng's sword was faster than him. It cut off his escape route and hit him, knocking him to the ground. The man wanted to get up, but the iron sword's blade was already between his eyebrows. The cold air was pouring into his body. A little bit more and he would die. The man looked at the iron sword in horror. What was this thing? Shisheng slowly walked closer and looked down at the man. You, Shisheng kicked the man. The man's voice disappeared and his head hung down weakly. Shisheng calmly tied him up before walking over to the figure prostrating on the ground. He took a deep breath and was about to turn the man over. In the blink of an eye, a rusty iron rod flew towards Shisheng. Shisheng grabbed his hand easily. Look at you. You won't die for the time being. The man's face was stained with blood, and his blood-stained hair stuck to his thin face. His eyes were filled with hatred, a hatred that could destroy the world. Who are you? Me. Shisheng reached out a hand and brushed the hair in front of his forehead, revealing his eyes. I'm your future wife. Heh. The man chuckled sarcastically. You've learned how to play such tricks now. Shisheng ignored his sarcasm and checked his body. There were a few wounds on his body. Although he was bleeding badly, they were not fatal. Why didn't you run away just now? None of the injuries were fatal. If he were to lie here and wait for death, there would be cat biscuits. The hatred in Jiangsu's eyes grew stronger, like a raging fire that wanted to burn her into ashes. You know the answer. What? Shisheng was dumbfounded. I don't know anything, okay? Get up first. Shisheng wanted to help him up, but Jiangsu couldn't stand up. Shisheng then realized something was wrong. Your leg? Isn't this your masterpiece? Why are you so surprised? Shisheng. Asterisk flips table asterisk. Was this man filled with hatred really her Feng Xiai? He wanted to destroy the world at any moment. Shisheng tied his hands and searched his body. After making sure there were no weapons, he picked him up. Can we go to the hospital? Jiang Su, who was carried in a princess's arms, felt something was wrong. He asked warily, Who are you? Your future wife. Shisheng answered matter-of-factly. Can we go to the hospital? Jiang Su answered after a while. No. Shisheng frowned. She definitely couldn't go back to her home. If Li Lan saw her carrying such a big man home, she would be furious. It was so late. She could only go to the hotel. But she had to take another man with her. She couldn't go alone. Shisheng thought for a while, and asked Iron Sword to take care of the man. He took Jiang Su to the hotel first, and then came back to take the man in through the window. Looking at the woman who climbed in through the window, Jiang Su was a little confused. When he came up just now, he saw the elevator stopped on the 18th floor. She climbed to the 18th floor from the bottom? And she took this man with her. Was he hallucinating because of the torture? Jiang Su closed his eyes. He couldn't run away now. He could only hope that the person who found him could hurry up. Shisheng went into the room, closed the window and drew the curtains. He found a chair and tied the man up. Seeing that he was an eyesore, he pulled the quilt on the bed to cover him. What's your name? Shisheng sat on the bed and looked at the man on the bed. Who are you? What was her purpose? Qinyu. Qinyu, no one knew him. Maybe it was a fake name. Shisheng took out his police ID and put it in front of Jiang Su. Look, Qinyu, I'm from the criminal investigation team of the municipal bureau. I'm not sent by anyone, and I have no purpose for you. You don't have to guess what I want to do. Jiang Su looked at the ID carefully and became more sarcastic. He said sarcastically, Police? I really don't know what's the use of trash like you. I also think those trash are useless. Shisheng nodded in agreement. Jiang Su. Aren't you one of those trash? Sure enough, you were sent by those people. Shisheng put away the ID. I'll bandage your wound first. It's better to go and find a doctor, in case you're disabled. A simple bandage to make sure she didn't die was okay, but it was impossible to treat her properly. This was Feng Xiai. She would be distressed if he was disabled. Yes. Go and catch, Apui, get a doctor here. Shisheng murmured the last sentence, but the room was so quiet that Jiang Su couldn't hear it. I'll be back soon. You'd better not run away. Shisheng covered Jiang Su with a quilt again. Jiang Su closed his eyes and ignored her with an expression of, You can do whatever you want. Shisheng stuffed that person into the cupboard and left the iron sword in the room. She was still a bit worried about leaving him alone in the same room as that man. It was late at night, and it was not easy to find a doctor. They searched several streets and finally found a doctor who was still at work. The doctor agreed to go to the hotel with Shisheng after they offered him 3 times the price. Shisheng took the doctor back to the hotel. There was only one light in the room. The doctor looked around. Where's the patient? Shisheng pointed to the slightly raised bed, walked over and lifted the quilt. The quilt was lifted, and the iron sword cut from the side. But when it was about to touch Shisheng, the iron sword suddenly stopped. No matter how hard Jiang Su tried, the iron sword couldn't move forward. Shisheng took the iron sword and pressed him back on the bed. His voice was a little cold. I didn't leave it for you to use against me. The doctor was speechless. What was going on? Something was wrong. Should he call the police? Shisheng took the iron sword and got off the bed. Take care of him. The doctor looked at the sword in Shisheng's hand, swallowed, and walked to the bed, trembling. He'd better pretend he didn't see anything. He had already come in, and there was no chance for him to leave. Ooh, he regretted it so much. He shouldn't have been so greedy. Asterisk a new week. Votes were cast. Tips were sent. It's up to you to get me on the list. Chapter 963. The doctor trembled as he applied medicine on Jiang Su's wound. When he was dealing with his leg, the doctor looked a little shocked. What's wrong? Shisheng saw that the doctor's expression was not right. The doctor suddenly stepped back and fell to the ground, pointing at Jiangsu's leg. Hee. Shisheng took a few steps forward and looked at Jiangsu's exposed leg. The knee was red and swollen, and the silver screw cap could be seen in the blood. Shisheng lifted his other leg. The two legs were exactly the same. She put her hand gently on his leg. Her cold fingertips stimulated Jiangsu's legs, which had not completely lost their senses. His body involuntarily trembled. Shisheng lowered her head to look at his wound. Her face was expressionless. Her drooping hair hid all the emotions in her eyes. After a long time, she looked up and asked the doctor calmly, "Can you deal with it?" The doctor's face was pale, and he shook his head hard. This needs to go to a professional hospital. I can't deal with it. He must have met some gangsters. It was so scary. Mama, he wanted to go home. Deal with the other wounds on his body first. The doctor swallowed his saliva. He was drenched in cold sweat and trembled as he got up. Shisheng took out a new cell phone and skillfully inserted the card. After thinking for a while, he dialed a number. It took a while for the phone to be picked up. It was a slightly old voice. "Hello. Grandpa, it's me. Xiaoyu." There was a rustling sound on the other side of the phone. He was probably putting on his clothes. "What's wrong? Why are you calling Grandpa so late? Did something happen? I need a safe hospital." When old Master Li heard this, he panicked. "What happened? Where are you? Grandpa, can you arrange it for me first?" "Okay, give me the address. I'll send someone to pick you up." Old Master Li was very straightforward. Old Master Li's people arrived soon. Shisheng asked them to send the doctor out, and not to go out and spread the news. "There's a person in the cabinet. Take him with you and don't let anyone see him." Shisheng pointed at the cabinet. The two men went forward and dragged the person out of the cabinet. Shisheng walked up to Jiangsu and touched his forehead. "Bear with it." Jiangsu turned his face away. Shisheng didn't care and picked him up. The bodyguard went forward and wanted to take Jiangsu. "Miss, let us do it. It's very eye-catching for you to carry a man like this." Shisheng refused softly. "No need. Let's go." The bodyguards looked at each other and escorted Shisheng downstairs. Fortunately, there weren't many people in the hotel at this time. They didn't meet anyone except for the people on duty in the lobby. The hospital arranged by old Master Li was in another province, and it would take some time for them to arrive. Jiangsu was held in Shisheng's arms. He looked at the scenery outside the window that kept retreating. He was so angry. Now it was even harder for those idiots to find him. Jiangsu raised his head slightly and looked at the woman who was holding him. She lowered her head and looked at him, but he didn't see his figure in her eyes. What was she thinking? Jiangsu's fingers moved, but before he could stretch them out, he was held down. "Don't move. I can tolerate you once, but I won't tolerate you a second time." Even if he was Feng Xiai, she wouldn't let go of some principles. Jiangsu was silent for a while, and slowly let go of his hands. Shisheng let go of him and held him in his arms. His eyes followed his body and fell on his legs. For a moment, Jiangsu felt a strong murderous aura from her. But it was only for a moment. Then she calmed down, as if it was just an illusion. He didn't know what this woman wanted. He didn't know her. The car arrived at dawn the next day. The bodyguard contacted someone first, and someone was waiting outside the hospital. Jiangsu was sent in for a checkup. Shisheng sat outside and stared at the red light. "Pa!" A doctor in a white coat came out. Shisheng stood up immediately. "How is he?" "Miss Qin, your friend's condition is not good. You have to be mentally prepared. Just say it." The doctor glanced at Shisheng and sighed. "He may have to be amputated." Shisheng's pupils constricted. "Is there no other way? This is just the worst-case scenario. We can't be sure for the time being. He has to be hospitalized for a detailed examination." "Miss Qin, don't worry. We will do our best to save your friend's leg." Shisheng sat back and said in a low voice, "Sorry to trouble you, doctor." The doctor shook his head and turned to go inside. Jiangsu was lying on the hospital bed, looking at the foggy sky outside. Rays of sunlight were penetrating the darkness. Click! The door of the ward was pushed open. Jiangsu didn't need to turn around to know who it was. I don't care what your purpose is. You won't get anything from me. Oh, what is my Xiao Yu want from you? Jiangsu was startled. He turned around, but it was not the familiar figure standing at the door of the ward, but an unfamiliar old man. He was wearing a tang suit and holding a walking stick. He was smiling at him and looked very kind. Old Master Li closed the door and sat down beside Jiangsu's bed. Jiangsu, many people are looking for you. Jiangsu was on guard and his hands under the quilt clenched into fists. What do you want? You are indeed very talented. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people who want to get you and even imprison you. There was some admiration in Old Master Li's voice. To be able to establish your own power under such circumstances, you will definitely become a sharp sword in the future. Jiangsu sneered. In the end, I was caught by you. Mr. Jiang, I don't know how Xiao Yu met you, but you were brought back by Xiao Yu. I won't do anything to you. Old Master Li smiled. Then what are you doing here? You are not suitable to be with Xiao Yu. I will send you away. Jiangsu's eyes were full of hatred. Continue to imprison me like those people? Old Master Li smiled and was about to speak when Shisheng came in and interrupted him. Grandpa, he is my man. I hope you won't interfere. Xiao Yu, he is very dangerous. This man, on the blacklist of the country, is a talent that other forces want to get. He is very dangerous, and with other threats, how can he let such a person stay with Xiao Yu? Grandpa, I want him. Shisheng said seriously. He can only belong to her. Xiao Yu, don't make trouble. Old Master Li knocked the ground with his crutch. Do you know who he is? I don't care who he is, and I don't care what he has done. But from now on, if anyone dares to touch a hair of his, I will let him pay with his life. Old Master Li looked at Shisheng with some horror. Xiao Yu. Qini, that bastard. How did he teach Xiao Yu? Old Master Li was so angry. Come out with me. Feng Ci. Why am I so unlucky every time? What about the high and mighty? Little fairy, you are the heroine now. What high and mighty do you want? Wait to be spoiled by me. Feng Ci. Little fairy, let me say the total chapter is over 1,000. Please give me a wave of rewards. Chapter 964. Shisheng followed Old Master Li out of the ward. Xiao Yu, do you know who he is? Old Master Li looked at Shisheng sternly. I don't know. How dare you say that when you don't know? He was so angry. Old Master Li was furious. He is Jiangsu, a top hacker. He has hacked many websites and is famous on the blacklist. You can't stay with him anymore. I said that I don't care what he has done in the past. She only wanted him as a person. If his path was full of thorns, she would pave a path for him. Xiao Yu, why are you so disobedient? Old Master Li was so angry that his voice was raised. It's not that you don't care what he has done. It's that he will bring disaster to you and your parents. Was Jiangsu someone they could touch? Shisheng looked calm. Grandpa, I will protect my parents and the Li family. You don't have to worry. What do you like about him? Shisheng's lips twitched. It's because of him. That's why I like him. Shisheng's words were a bit tongue-twisting. Old Master Li, who didn't know the truth, didn't understand at all. He stared for a long time and his attitude softened. Xiao Yu, you have to think about your parents. I'm an old man. I've lived for most of my life. It's enough. But you can't put them in danger because of your stubbornness. Grandpa, I promise you that they won't lose a single hair. Shisheng raised his hands and swore. I won't do anything that I'm not sure of. No matter how dangerous Jiangsu is, I can solve it. Grandpa, trust me. Old Master Li's chest hurt. Why was this bastard granddaughter so disobedient? He couldn't bear to strangle her to death. Shisheng looked at Old Master Li suspiciously. Grandpa, why do you know so much about him? Old Master Li glanced at Shisheng. When your grandpa was young, he also worked for the country. Later on, I got injured in an accident and left to do business. But I still have some friends in the government. He glanced at the ward behind him. They haven't found out that you're here yet, but that's only a matter of time. Xiao Yu, let him go. If you keep him around, you'll be harming him and yourself. Shisheng raised his eyebrows and looked at Old Master Li. You want to hand him over to the higher-ups? These people who had served their country always had the thought that they should put the country first. They should abandon their families, their wives, and everything else. In the eyes of the Shisheng, he had been brainwashed. A country did need some people to sacrifice, but for a country to be strong and prosperous, it needed the efforts of the entire country, not the sacrifice of a small number of people. You sacrificed yourself in front, but the people behind you naturally enjoyed the glory, splendor, and wealth that others sacrifice for. Old Master Li coughed. He did have this thought, but seeing how crazy his granddaughter was, he could only suppress this thought. He had been gone for a long time, and he only wanted his descendants to be safe and sound. Mr. Li tried to persuade Shisheng to let Jiangsu leave. He could promise that he would not tell others his whereabouts. But how could Shisheng bear to let Jiangsu leave? He refused no matter what. Old Master Li was so angry that he almost hit him with his crutch. Shisheng said softly, "Grandpa, I have grown up and I know what I am doing." Old Master Li shook his head and sighed. "I hope so." He left with his crutch, looking a little lonely. Shisheng turned his head and strode after him. "Grandpa, I have something for you." Shisheng put a red sandalwood bracelet on Old Master Li's wrist. "Grandpa, no matter what, don't take it off, not even when you are sleeping." Old Master Li touched the bracelet, and it felt very comfortable. It looked a bit old. Old Master Li nodded and left the hospital with his men. Shisheng watched the elevator door close and then returned to the ward. Jiangsu was sitting in the same position, with his head slightly tilted, revealing his beautiful neck. He did not look back and said sarcastically, "Have you discussed how to deal with me?" Shisheng walked forward slowly, pinched his chin, turned his head over and kissed him. Jiangsu's eyes widened and his body stiffened, allowing her to do whatever she wanted. Shisheng did not go deep, just tasting his lips. When she touched him, many images flashed through Jiangsu's mind. He could only vaguely see some fragments, which were strange but made his heart ache. Yes, it was heartache. He actually felt heartache after being kissed by someone. A familiar breath swept over, covering his head and pressing him down. The air around him was disappearing and the sense of suffocation was getting stronger. "Damn you idiot, breathe." Jiangsu woke up suddenly, and a large amount of fresh air rushed into his lungs. A layer of red appeared on his face, covering his previous morbid paleness. Jiangsu reacted and immediately shrank back. But he pulled his wound and the pain made his face pale again. Shisheng stabilized his body. "Don't move." Jiangsu gritted his teeth and waved away Shisheng's hand. "Don't touch me." Shisheng tilted his head, put his hands on both sides of him and leaned over. "You have kissed me. How about giving yourself to me?" "Get lost." Jiangsu shrunk his body and buried himself in the quilt. He was so confused that he didn't know how to describe it. The room quieted down. He knew that she had not left. He could feel her. Jiangsu reached out and touched his chest. His breathing became heavier, and the sound of his heartbeat rang clearly in his ears, as if it was about to jump out. He had never felt like this before. He was flustered and at a loss. Shisheng tugged at his quilt. "I told you, I won't let anyone touch a single strand of your hair." The sound of footsteps gradually faded away. After the slight sound of the door closing, the whole ward returned to silence. Jiangsu slowly pulled down the quilt. He did not know if it was because he was suffocating, but his face was slightly red. He stared at the door of the ward for a while, and the red on his face gradually faded, and was replaced by a weak pale face. Shisheng received a call from He Xian as soon as he left the ward. Old Master Li helped Shisheng to lie and said that he would take her to meet a friend, so she was now on leave. At this time, He Xian called her only because there might be some progress in the Dong's case. Shisheng pressed the answer button when the ringtone was about to be cut off. "Captain He Xian spoke very fast. "Qin Yu, I just want to tell you that the case has been solved." "Solved?" Shisheng raised his eyebrows slightly. "Who did you catch?" Dong Chun was the one who bribed Lu Fan to kill his wife. Then he hired someone to kill the vice president who worked for him. He Xian gave Shisheng a simple explanation of what had happened. Why did he want to kill his wife? Although Dong Chun did not care about his wife as much as he said, he was not the kind of person who really put his interests first. He cared about his wife, but she was not as important as his power and status. Chapter 965. The victim caught him talking about dirty things with the vice president. Dong Chun was afraid that she would tell others, so he killed her. The 5 victims were also found out that they were all killed by Dong Chun. They not only asked for a high price, but also instigated others not to give up the land if they didn't pay. Dong Chun planned to kill several of their leaders and successfully got the land. Did Dong Chun plead guilty? Yes, we won't close the case so soon if he didn't. Xian's tone didn't sound very relaxed. But there is no clue about R, except for the letter. There is no more movement. Well, I won't talk to you anymore. You'd better get back to the team as soon as possible. Beep beep beep. Shisheng held the mobile phone, and it took a while for her to react. Where did Xian get her mobile phone number? The one she used before was confiscated by him, and he didn't return it to her? Shisheng called Xian back. Xian told her that it was Qin Yi who asked someone to keep it. She called Qin Yi, so he was not surprised. Miss Qin, the doctor is calling you. The bodyguard came from the side. Shisheng put the mobile phone back in her pocket and followed the bodyguard to the doctor's office. The doctor told Shisheng that to take out the things inside, there was a 90% chance that he would need to amputate, which was very risky. Even without amputation, the possibility that he could stand up was very small. Miss Qin, please discuss with Mr. Jiang and let me know when you have finished your discussion, so that I can arrange the operation for you. The doctor politely sent Shisheng out of the office. Shisheng nodded slightly and walked back with the things. Outside the ward, Shisheng rubbed her face and pushed the door in. Jiangsu seemed to be asleep, but when she opened the door, he woke up in an instant. He glanced at Shisheng vigilantly, and his muscles were tight. Seeing the person at the door, Jiangsu couldn't help but think of the picture of her kissing him just now, and his ears burned instantly. Shisheng walked to the bed calmly, pulled out a chair and sat down, and put the document in front of him. You choose. Jiangsu frowned, and his eyes wandered back and forth between the document and Shisheng. After a long time, he picked up the document and quickly read through it. The hatred in his eyes rose like a tide. His hands kept tightening, and the paper was slightly distorted by his strength. A pair of hands held him from the side, and a soft voice fell into his ears. I won't let anyone who hurt you go. Now you only need to choose one. Whether you can stand up or not, I will be by your side. Jiangsu's voice trembled. Why? He had never met her, nor did he know her. Why did he have to do this to him? The ward fell into a strange silence. Jiangsu could only hear his own heartbeat, which was so clear. Bang bang bang, he heard her voice echoing in the empty room. Every word seemed to be pulled into a thread, wrapping around his heart, and squeezing into his tightly shut heart. The light shone brightly and dispelled the darkness. Because you are the person I've been looking for, the person who will accompany me for the rest of my life. Before Jiangsu had time to feel it, Shisheng's voice sounded again. This time, it was not so polite. Hurry up and choose. Why are you dawdling? Jiangsu. He actually thought that she liked him. How ridiculous. Such a bad attitude. This choice would determine his future life. She actually used this kind of attitude to ask him to choose which one was better. The door of his heart that had just cracked open was slammed shut with a bang. Jiangsu picked a document and handed it to Shisheng. You are indeed the person I like. Shisheng nodded with satisfaction. Don't worry. If you really can't walk, I'll be happy to carry you every day. Jiangsu. Was this something a human would say? He suddenly wanted to strangle her. Because of the preoperative preparation, Jiangsu was tortured every day. Shisheng was also watching from the side. Jiangsu didn't realize that this woman was so bad before. But every time he was in great pain, she would be very patient and serious with him. Jiangsu didn't understand her. At least he couldn't understand the way she acted. She seemed to care about him a lot, but sometimes, she didn't seem to care about him that much. What's this? Jiangsu looked at the black thing that Shisheng handed to him with a look of disgust. It's good stuff. Open your mouth. Jiangsu kept his mouth shut and refused to eat it. Who knew what she gave him? I'll say it one last time. Open your mouth. Jiangsu pursed his lips and shook his head. I told you nicely, but you didn't listen. You just had to force I to be rough. Shisheng pinched Jiangsu's chin and fed him the thing rudely. Jiangsu. Why didn't those idiots come to save him? After feeding him, Shisheng stared at him for a long time, as if to confirm something. After a long time, Shisheng muttered. It seems that there are no side effects. Jiangsu. So what did you give me? You don't even know if there are any side effects. Ever since that day, Jiangsu was often forced by Shisheng to eat all kinds of strange things. Sometimes there would be a reaction, sometimes there wouldn't. This woman definitely didn't like him. Absolutely. Yes. No. But. Yes. On the day of Jiangsu's surgery, Shisheng sent him out of the operation room in silence. Her face was solemn and Jiangsu thought that she would say something touching. Unexpectedly, she suddenly said, I hope you're still alive when you come out. Jiangsu. If the operation failed, he would just lose his leg. It wouldn't cost him his life. She made it sound like he was going to die? What did she mean? The nurse pushed Jiangsu to the operation room. Shisheng followed her for 2 steps and was stopped by the nurse. Miss Qin, please wait outside. Shisheng pushed the nurse away and rushed to Jiangsu's side. He pressed the bed and leaned over to kiss Jiangsu. After a minute, Shisheng let go of Jiangsu and winked at him. When you come out, I'll take you to take revenge. Jiangsu unconsciously licked the corner of his lips. Her warmth was still there. It wasn't as disgusting as he thought. Instead, it was a little nostalgic. Shisheng slowly let go of his hand and watched the nurse send him into the operation room. The operation lasted for a long time. Shisheng waited outside. She had been playing games and didn't look nervous at all. The bodyguards beside her couldn't figure out what Shisheng was thinking. People kept falling in the game interface, and the brilliant light of skills flashed through her calm eyes. Shisheng had killed as many people as Jiangsu had been in the operation. His name was so red that it was almost black. When the light in the operation room went off, Shisheng's fingers loosened and the phone screen turned gray. The character was lying in the map and a pop-up box popped up. Your character is dead. Please choose the method of resurrection. Resurrection on the spot. Resurrection in the city. Someone came out of the operation room. First it was the nurse, then the doctor. The doctor looked at Shisheng. The operation was a success. Shisheng's lips curled up slowly. How could her character die so easily? Flip the table. I used so many good things on him. And it still didn't work. She could only destroy a world to calm down. Asterisk, please vote. Please, he would ask for anything. Chapter 966. Shisheng hadn't been to the police station for a long time. So many of them felt unfamiliar. Well, they weren't familiar with each other in the first place. Shisheng entered the criminal investigation unit. The entire unit was as busy as it had been when she had left. When she returned, these people only glanced at her before going back to their own work. Shisheng looked at the glass in the middle of the room. There were some notes stuck on it and a complicated relationship chart. It looked messy. She walked closer to take a look and grabbed a passerby. Isn't the Dong Corporation's case closed? The passerby was old Zhang. He had a good temper and answered Shisheng's questions. You haven't come to work for a long time. 3 days ago, there was another case. The victim was Dong Chun's nanny. Old Zhang pointed at a note. This sentence was found at the crime scene. It's exactly the same as the sentence found in the baby's swaddling clothes. Lust will make you lose your sight. God will deprive you of your right to live. Hell is waiting for you. The nanny was alone at home when she died. She was hung from the chandelier in the living room. There were no signs of other people at the crime scene. It looked more like a suicide attempt. If it weren't for the letter, it might have been a suicide attempt. Brother Zhang. Someone called old Zhang. Shisheng looked in the direction of the voice. It was the female lead, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. She seemed a little displeased. It was obvious that her displeasure was directed at Shisheng. Shisheng raised his middle finger without a word. Displeasure my ass. Come and hit me if you dare. UAI. This woman dared to provoke her. She hadn't come to work for a long time, but she was so arrogant. Did she think that she could do whatever she wanted just because she had someone backing her? Old Zhang was afraid that the two of them would quarrel, so he quickly stood in front of Shisheng to block their line of sight. He nodded at Shisheng. I'll go over first. There are files over there. You can take a look if you want. Now that the entire criminal investigation unit was involved in this case, everyone could see the files. After old Zhang left with UAI, Shisheng looked away and went to He Xian's office. Xiao Yu, you're back. He Xian gestured for Shisheng to sit down. I thought you weren't coming back. Shisheng put on a fake smile. Captain He, you're thinking too much. If he didn't come back, where would he go to see the female lead? He Xian couldn't wait for her to not come. Serving this rich young miss was much harder than catching those criminals. He Xian laughed dryly. I've been busy at the station recently. It's good that you're back. There's a case for you to take charge of. You want me to be in charge alone. You should train as well. He Xian was afraid that Shisheng would refuse to do it, so he quickly added, this case is not difficult. You have a senior with you. The case is outside. They have already started investigating. It's not easy for you to go in now. He Xian obviously did not want Shisheng to be involved in this matter. Shisheng guessed that it was Qin Yi's order, and she didn't insist. She took the information He Xian gave her and prepared to leave. Captain He. Shisheng suddenly turned around. Where's my tablet and phone? He Xian's expression changed. That. Last time when you were collecting your phone, someone suddenly rushed in and caused trouble. Your tablet was broken, but your phone is fine. Was it broken? The tablet was indeed broken. He couldn't even turn it on. Don't worry. This loss is on our team. I've already reported it for you to get a new one. Shisheng didn't care about this small amount of money. Have you caught the traitor? Shisheng raised his eyebrows and looked at He Xian. He Xian shook his head. The criminal police who were in charge of the 5 cases have been transferred. I've asked someone to investigate. He died in the line of duty not long ago. At this time he died in the line of duty. There must be something fishy. The vice president was killed in advance. Captain He, you don't think that the people in your team are very clean, do you? Qin Yu, don't mention this again. I'll investigate it. He Xian's face was serious. They were in the same team. They couldn't be suspicious of each other. Otherwise, it would be bad for their work. The traitor shouldn't be said so casually, but Shisheng said it in front of so many people. The atmosphere in the team was not very good now. Shisheng shrugged and took the things out. Shisheng went to borrow tools from other departments. She sat alone in her seat and tinkered with her tablet. You know how to repair tablets? Huo came in from somewhere. He stood beside Shisheng. His face was expressionless, and his tone was cold. Shisheng looked up at Huo. Why is the male lead suddenly talking to me? Did he not take his medicine before leaving the house? Or did he eat too much? There's a conspiracy. It's none of your business. Shisheng lowered her head and continued to tinker with her tablet. Huo stood beside her and looked at her. Shisheng put all the parts in place and turned on the tablet. The screen flashed and went black. Huo was about to speak when the screen lit up again. The screen flashed and returned to normal. Shisheng frowned slightly. Someone had touched her tablet. The tablecloth on the tablet would be changed every time she turned it on and off. There was a pattern. But now that she turned it on, there was a tablecloth in between. It could also be broken. There was nothing important in it. Shisheng didn't even lock it, but she was still vigilant. She opened some documents to check. It was obvious that someone had tampered with them. Mr. Huo, what are you doing? Shisheng put the tablet on the table and looked at Huo with an unfriendly expression. This person had been standing here all this time. F***ck. Miss Qin, you still owe me a sum of money. Have you forgotten? Shisheng was furious. I also said that the car is outside. If you're not happy, you can smash it back. If you didn't move your car when I asked you to, would I smash your car? Now you're still harping on this. Are you out of your mind? I'm not Miss Chin. She wouldn't do such a thing. Huh? I'm not Mr. He either. I don't have money or my life. Shisheng grinned at Hua Xiao, her face full of malice. If you don't get lost, don't blame me for being rude. Hua Xiao turned around expressionlessly. He took a few steps and said, Miss Chin, you've been away for so long. Where did you go? Shisheng answered immediately, prostitution. What does it have to do with you where I go? Why aren't you concerned about the female lead? Why are you talking nonsense with me? You're crazy. Hua Xiao. Hua Xiao took a deep breath and left the criminal investigation unit. Diagonally across the street, UAI glared hatefully at Shisheng as she watched Hua Xiao's departing figure. Perhaps it was because her gaze was too obvious. Shisheng suddenly raised his head and looked in her direction. UAI immediately shrank to the side and the wall blocked his view. UAI leaned against the wall and calmed her breathing. After waiting for about a minute, she walked out as if nothing had happened and returned to her seat. This is the last reminder. New Year's Eve lottery on the 27th. I'm a bread. A fleeting moment in scenery book review lottery on the 28th. Mo Nan. Like March, it won't be distributed after today. If you haven't received it yet, please join the welfare group as soon as possible. You can find the group number in the pinned post. Chapter 967. Shisheng stared at the tablet for a long time. Someone had copied her files. Xian? No way. Xian couldn't even use a computer well and couldn't understand the files. It couldn't be him. If he really needed anything, he would have called her directly instead of secretly copying the files. Who could it be? According to Xian, anyone at the scene could be the culprit. Qing Yu, have you read the files Captain he gave you? We have to go now. Old Zhang came over with 2 other people. Oh, let's go. Shisheng put away the tablet and left with Old Zhang with the unopened files on the table. Old Zhang knew that Shisheng hadn't read the files yet. On the way, he kindly explained to Shisheng. More than 10 hours ago, they received a report that a dog had bitten a person. It's not a murder case. Why are we going there? Shisheng flipped through the files. Why would a dog bite case be assigned to the criminal investigation unit? Old Zhang flipped through the files and pointed at a photo. The person who was bitten is dead. Cause of death? Shisheng flipped to the last page but still couldn't find the cause of death. The initial death report said it was rabies, but this report was soon refuted. There's still no news from the forensics team. I heard it's a bit tricky. The minimum incubation period for rabies is 1 week. He died after being bitten for more than 10 hours. This isn't normal. Shisheng put down the files. What are we going to do now? Old Zhang's mouth twitched. We're going to ask the dog and the victim's family some questions. Oh. Boring. Old Zhang sighed and shook his head. He went to talk to his colleagues. The car stopped in a residential area. Old Zhang asked 2 other people to ask the victim's family, while he and Shisheng went to look for the dog. Shisheng. Flips table. I'm reduced to looking for a dog. Old Zhang found a few eyewitnesses at that time. A dog? It's not from our neighborhood. It's a big one. Its fur is golden. What do they call it? Golden retriever. Yes, golden retriever. It looks very dirty. I don't know where it came from. A child fed it. It was fine at that time. Who knew it would suddenly bite someone? Where did it go? It ran away after biting him. Who knows where it went? You must catch it. It's scary to think of such a big dog biting people. The residents' reactions were similar. They didn't know where the dog came from, and they had never seen the dog before. After questioning all the witnesses, Old Zhang turned around to look for Shisheng, but there was no one around him. Old Zhang was exhausted. Did he still have to take care of a child when he was out on a case? Old Zhang searched the neighborhood for a long time. In the end, under the guidance of the residents of the neighborhood, he found the person in a remote corner of the neighborhood. Don't ask him why he didn't call. Even if he did, no one would answer. Old Zhang looked at Shisheng, who was squatting in front of a pile of grass and playing games. He was speechless. Qing Yu, what are you doing here? Freeloading Wi-Fi. What? Old Zhang was confused. Did you come all this way just to freeload on the Wi-Fi? There's no Wi-Fi in the neighborhood? Who allowed you to use the Wi-Fi during working hours? Calm down. Let's go back and wait for them. Let's see what they find. He shouldn't have been with her just now. Shisheng stood up with his phone and kicked the grass beside him. There was a big gap in the iron railing outside that was blocked by the grass. It seemed to have been forcibly twisted. Shisheng didn't even raise his head. There's dog hair here. Are you sure you don't want to check it? Old Zhang had already turned around. When he heard Shisheng's voice, he immediately turned his head and looked at the gap that was big enough for a dog to crawl through. He squatted down and checked. There was indeed a lot of dog hair. Old Zhang looked at Shisheng strangely and called someone to come over. When these people were collecting evidence and didn't look up, he finally put away his phone and looked outside the iron railing. What's over there? University. Old Zhang took the time to answer. Most of the residents in the neighborhood are school employees. There was no fence here at first. It was added later. What university? Old Zhang looked at the information in his hand. Huali Medical University. It's a private university. Medical university? Rabies? Dogs. Shisheng imagined a scene in a novel. Maybe there was a medical freak who was researching something strange, and then the dog accidentally ran out and bit him. I might already know the truth. Shisheng waved his hand. Let's go and take a look. Old Zhang was about to go over. He nodded and walked out of the neighborhood. After walking for a while, he didn't hear anything behind him. He turned around and saw Shisheng rolling up his sleeves and nimbly flipping over the railing. He landed outside in a handsome posture. Old Zhang. Couldn't he be more considerate of a middle-aged man like him who couldn't walk properly? Why did he have to climb over the wall when there was a door? When Old Zhang went in through the main entrance, Shisheng was already out of sight. It was not the school holidays yet. Shisheng asked a few students who were the weirdest in their school. Students were the most familiar with gossip. After asking a few students, Shisheng got two names. One was Professor Zhou, and the other was this year's new student, Jiangsu. Other than attending classes, Professor Zhou was always in his laboratory. Other than class time, he never interacted with others. However, he had written several papers that had won awards. He was once the director of a hospital. Later on, he had become a professor here for some unknown reason. Jiangsu was even weirder. He carried a skull around the school all day long. When someone saw him at night, they fainted immediately. Professor Zhou had his own laboratory, so he was even more suspicious. Shisheng went straight to Professor Zhou's laboratory. Professor Zhou's laboratory was very close to the neighborhood. It was less than 50 meters away. Professor Zhou was indeed very suspicious. Shisheng looked at the building and walked down the stairs. The laboratory was in the basement. The voice-activated light on the stairs was probably broken. Shisheng stomped for a long time, but it didn't light up. Shisheng took out his iron sword and went down to the basement. There was a metal door in the basement, but it was closed at the moment. Next to it was a device that could only be accessed by swiping a card. Shisheng gestured with his sword. If she split the device open and Professor Zhou was not the murderer, how much money would she have to pay? After thinking for a while, Shisheng put away his iron sword and took out his tablet to fiddle with it. Ding! The door of the laboratory opened slowly. Shisheng tilted his head and looked inside. There was a man in a white lab coat. He was slightly plump and bald. When the light shone on him, it reflected the light. He was also looking in the direction of the door. When he saw someone he didn't know, he was on guard. Who are you? How did you get in? Shisheng waved the tablet in his hand. I got in like this. The man reached out to press the red button on the side, but there was no response. Shisheng's light voice spread in the laboratory. I'm sorry. My hand slipped. I might have broken the circuit. Chapter 968. The man was none other than Professor Zhou. He stared at Shisheng warily. Who the hell are you? I'm a police officer. Shisheng took out his badge and showed it to Professor Zhou. Professor Zhou looked at the badge and his chubby face was filled with anger. How dare you break into my lab? I'm going to sue you. Whatever. Shisheng took back his badge. Professor Zhou, you should explain this to me before you sue me. Shisheng took out the photo of the victim and faced it to Professor Zhou. Professor Zhou glanced at it and was puzzled. What's that? Obviously this is a dead person. Shisheng smiled. What does a dead person have to do with me? Why do I have to explain? Professor Zhou snorted. Shisheng spread his hands. Maybe I think you killed her. Professor Zhou's expression changed, but it was quickly covered by anger. He shouted at Shisheng. What do you think? You don't have any evidence and you're accusing me of murder. This is false accusation. Is this how the police do things nowadays? Those idiots are not as effective as me. Professor Zhou was speechless. Who are those idiots talking about? The police? He now suspected that this woman was crazy. Professor Zhou took a deep breath. You can't accuse me of murder without evidence. If you have any questions, please follow the standard procedure. Now please leave. I'm already here. How can I leave? It would be embarrassing to go back empty-handed. Professor Zhou's face darkened. I don't care who you are. Get out of my lab right now. Professor Zhou, what are you doing? Shisheng ignored Professor Zhou's roar and approached him. Stop. I said stop. Shisheng approached Professor Zhou step by step. Professor Zhou was forced to step back. Stop. Don't come any closer. Shisheng didn't stop and continued to approach him. Professor Zhou opened the drawer of the lab table behind him and took out a gun. He pointed the muzzle at Shisheng. Professor Zhou calmed down. His face was a little twisted. You asked for it. Shisheng said calmly. Yes, I asked for it. But can you kill me? He knew that Professor Zhou would have cat biscuits. What if there isn't? If there's nothing wrong with him, then you're just casually framing him. Host, don't you think your actions are too much? Shisheng replied calmly. When have I ever wronged anyone? Although he didn't want to admit it, it seemed to be the case. His host was a little unreasonable, but she didn't wrong anyone. Little girl, don't be so impulsive in your next life. Professor Zhou smiled sinisterly. Originally, I could have let you go after you left, but now? Ah! The screams resounded throughout the laboratory, echoing through the open door to the top. Shisheng stepped on Professor Zhou's wrist and said arrogantly, cut the crap. By the time you're done, it'll be too late. If he wanted to chat, he had to tie her up first. It was useless to tie the male and female leads up. He had to kill them first. Due to the pain, Professor Zhou's face contorted even more. He glared hatefully at Shisheng, his gaze as if she had killed his father. Shisheng knocked Professor Zhou out before casually flipping through the lab. There were all kinds of data and observation logs. From his description, the subject seemed to be a human. Shisheng checked Professor Zhou's computer and saw 2 surveillance cameras on an encrypted computer. In the surveillance cameras, a man and a woman were locked in separate rooms. They were wearing the same white clothes, which were covered in dirt. They looked thin and lifeless. Sure enough, medical students were all freaks. How scary. He was scared to death. Shisheng looked around the laboratory. According to the student's description, Professor Zhou ate, drank, and defecated in the laboratory. He couldn't have locked her outside. There must be a secret room in the laboratory. Old Zhang heard the screams and came to the laboratory. When he arrived, the first thing he saw was Professor Zhou lying on the ground. He didn't know if he was dead or alive. Shisheng was standing beside him, eating melon seeds. Old Zhang walked up nervously and checked Professor Zhou's pulse. After making sure he was still alive, he yelled at Shisheng angrily. Qinyu, what did you do? Old Zhang was famous for his good temper. If he was angry, it proved how angry he was. He's not dead. Why are you so nervous? Shisheng was eating melon seeds calmly. Besides, I was the one who put him down. You can't be blamed for it. Qinyu, they were just investigating. They didn't get anything out of her, but she put the professor down. Shisheng pointed to the side. Look at that. Be prepared. Old Zhang looked in the direction Shisheng was pointing. His pupils dilated slowly. It was a transparent glass wall. From the outside they could see inside. It was divided into several rooms. The two rooms in the middle were what Shisheng saw in the surveillance cameras. In the other rooms there were some strange animals. Some had fallen fur and maggots, but they were still alive. Some had already rotted, and there was a pile of rotten meat. Even though they were separated by the glass, they could smell the rotting smell. Ugh. Old Zhang looked away and retched. How could she be eating melon seeds so calmly after seeing those things? Was she really a girl? He might have met a fake girl. Old Zhang held back his nausea and called the bureau to send professionals to deal with it. Professor Zhou was taken away. The police didn't act rashly because they weren't sure about the situation behind the glass wall. They waited until Professor Zhou woke up before they started to clean up the area behind the glass wall. Professor Zhou had some mental problems. It was because of this that he was fired by the hospital and sent to receive treatment. But Professor Zhou came to this school to be a professor. He wanted to make a big career out of it. He wanted to prove that there was nothing wrong with his brain, and make those people who said that he had a brain problem look at him in a different light. At first, he only did experiments on small animals. But later, he couldn't continue to study small animals, so he turned his attention to people. Those two people were both students of the school. When they went missing, it was a big deal. Who knew that they were locked up by Professor Zhou? As for the dog, Professor Zhou was a little absent-minded. At first, he denied that he didn't know what kind of dog it was, but later, he said that it might have run out when he wasn't paying attention. The only thing he didn't have a clue about was the dog that bit people. The police ordered that the dog must be found. It couldn't be outside. If it bit people, it would be terrible. This case was solved in a baffling way. They hadn't even started investigating, but the case was about to be closed. Asterisk little fairy, it's February. Spring is coming. Do you want to go on a date? Cherub, speak human language. Little fairy, vote. Cherub, no vote, no vote. Hit me. Shisheng draws his sword. Cherub, Prince Charming Sheng, we're on your side. Shisheng, she's bribing me. Vote. Cherub, I didn't expect you to be like this. Aggrieved. Chapter 969. Shisheng stayed at the police station for a while. It was almost 10 o'clock when she got home. She took out the key to open the door. There was a strong smell of blood in the room. The light in the living room was on. There were blood stains on the floor, which were heading towards the bathroom. Shisheng. How long had it been since she left, and it had already become a murder scene? No, that idiot. Shisheng closed the door and went straight to the bathroom. The door of the bathroom was closed. Shisheng kicked it open. There was more blood in the bathroom. The floor was covered with blood. There was a person lying in the bathtub. His arms were hanging outside, and his head was hanging on the edge of the bathtub. He was motionless. Shisheng checked his pulse. He was still alive. Shisheng went out of the bathroom and turned to the bedroom. Jiangsu. Jiangsu was sitting in a wheelchair at the door of the bedroom. His clothes were full of blood. The blood on his hands had dried and was hanging casually on the wheelchair. There was hatred in his eyes. It was the same as when they first met. Shisheng. Damn, this idiot killed someone in the bathroom. How could she use this bathroom in the future? They looked at each other for a few seconds. The hatred in Jiangsu's eyes slowly faded. Shisheng went to get a basin of water silently. He cleaned the blood on his hands and carried him into the bathroom to change his clothes. It was not the first time that Shisheng changed his clothes for him. Jiangsu could accept it calmly. Shisheng buttoned his clothes for him and asked, "Do you have wounds on your hands?" Jiangsu looked at his legs and said nothing. Shisheng followed his gaze and pursed his lips. He put a thin blanket on him and continued to ask, "Are you hurt?" Jiangsu raised his head slightly and stared at Shisheng for a few seconds. Then he shook his head slowly. Her reaction was completely different from what he had expected. She didn't panic or get angry. She just asked him calmly if he was hurt. Shisheng tucked him into the quilt. "Go to sleep." Jiangsu suddenly reached out and grabbed her. "I killed someone." Shisheng nodded to show that he knew. Jiangsu emphasized, "I killed someone." "I know. You don't have to repeat yourself," Shisheng shouted back fiercely. "He's not dead." Jiangsu froze for a moment, and then lowered his head. Sleep with me. I don't have time. Shisheng shook off Jiangsu, walked 2 steps and then turned back. He asked strangely, "What did you say just now?" She might have been hallucinating. Would this retard be so proactive? Nothing. Jiangsu retracted his hand and turned to the other side. His side sank slightly, and he felt a chill on his back. A warm body leaned over from behind and roughly pulled him into an embrace. He leaned against her chest and heard her steady heartbeat. At this moment, it was a very beautiful sound. "You're scared." Jiangsu reached out and hugged her waist. "I'm scared." When he attacked, he didn't feel the pleasure that he had imagined. There was only a kind of emptiness that seemed to require more killing to fill. But the moment he saw her, that desire suddenly disappeared. "So I asked you to wait for me to come back. Why didn't you listen to me?" Shisheng sneered. He deserved it. It was all his own fault. She asked someone to send the man over, and didn't ask the bodyguards to leave. But they left. Obviously, it was Jiangsu's order. Jiangsu suddenly let go of Shisheng and propped himself up to look at her. "Do you really like me?" Shisheng pulled him back and said angrily. "Otherwise, why should I deal with the body for you? Do you think I have nothing to do?" "Jiangsu. But the way you talk to me doesn't sound like you like me at all." Jiangsu listened to her heartbeat and didn't know when he fell asleep. For so many years, he had never slept so well. When he woke up the next day, there was no one next to him. The sunlight outside the window came in and coated the whole room with a layer of warm light. Jiangsu moved from the bed to the wheelchair and pushed it out himself. The bathroom was clean, as if what happened yesterday was a dream. Jiangsu pushed the wheelchair into the living room. Shisheng sat on the sofa with a lot of documents in front of him, and some on the ground. He pushed it forward and looked at the paper on the ground. The most conspicuous thing on it was R's cursive signature. "You're awake?" Jiangsu's body was suddenly lifted up, and he was placed on the sofa. Jiangsu's expression was a little strange. Where did she get so much strength? Shisheng threw the things on the table aside casually, got up and went to the kitchen. He brought out the warm porridge. "Eat something." "You made it?" "Yes." She still knew how to make porridge. She wasn't that useless. Jiangsu took the porridge and ate it silently. It didn't taste very good, but it wasn't particularly bad either. Shisheng sat on the ground and fiddled with the documents. The two of them didn't say anything, but it didn't make Jiangsu feel awkward. It was a very natural way to get along. "R's full name is Revenge." Shisheng looked at Jiangsu. "Revenge?" Jiangsu nodded. "Revenge. This is an organization, a very crazy group of people. How do you know?" Shisheng sat on the sofa. Jiangsu's mouth twitched, full of sarcasm. "They once wanted to recruit me." He paused and didn't continue. There were some things he didn't want to mention anymore. "Why did you investigate them?" A mission." Shisheng shrugged innocently. "I don't want to investigate this group of idiots. You took me in. Aren't you afraid that they will find out?" He wasn't a good person either. Shisheng leaned closer to Jiangsu and said evilly, "If possible, I'd rather be a bandit." Jiangsu's eyes were even more strange. "You're very strange. Everyone wanted to be a good person. Even a bad person would pretend to be a good person sometimes." He once heard a sentence, "Human nature was good." He believed it a long time ago, but after what he experienced, this sentence was more like sarcasm. "Really?" Shisheng took the bowl away from his hand and sat up straight. "How is it strange?" "Everything is strange." Shisheng turned to look at him and said firmly, "But you don't hate it, do you?" Jiangsu. Yes, damn it, he didn't hate it. Instead, he wanted to get more. That kind of thought couldn't be suppressed anymore. There was always a voice in his heart that repeated, "She belongs to me, belongs to me." Taking advantage of his distraction, Shisheng leaned in to kiss him. Jiangsu dodged a little and lost his balance and fell on the sofa. Shisheng took the opportunity to press down and entangle with him. Behind Jiangsu was a soft sofa. Her breath was overwhelming and took over his world. It was strong and rich, as if it wanted to render his world exclusive to her. "Ouch!" Jiangsu suddenly gasped. Shisheng pressed on his leg, and his body couldn't help but bend in pain. Sorry. Shisheng moved away from him and said with some disdain, "You're too delicate." Jiangsu. "Don't wait for my leg to recover." He glared at Shisheng. "I want to go back to my room." "Go back." Shisheng moved away. Jiangsu looked at the wheelchair on the other side. When he saw Shisheng's evil smile, he gritted his teeth. "Bring me the wheelchair." "Beg me." Jiangsu was angry and wanted to go down. Shisheng quickly stopped him. Hey, okay, I'm wrong. Don't torture yourself. Asterisk, the above content was purely fictional. Chapter 970. I want the computer. As soon as Shisheng put Jiangsu on the bed, Jiangsu made a request. It's easy for you to order me around now. You can also send me away. Shisheng gritted his teeth. I'll deal with you when you recover. Jiangsu lowered his eyes. It was hard to say who would be the one to deal with whom. Shisheng went out and brought the computer in, as well as his own things. Jiangsu. Why did you come in? Shisheng stared back. What are you looking at? I can go wherever I want in my house. Do you still want to control me? Jiangsu silently turned on the computer. He had used the computer yesterday, but the password he entered yesterday was wrong. He was stunned and subconsciously looked at Shisheng. She knew he had used the computer. It's your birthday. Shisheng's voice sounded faintly. Jiangsu tried to enter his birthday. As expected, it was opened. He was silent for a while. Will you betray me? The word betray is not in my dictionary. Jiangsu smiled silently. His slender fingertips slowly tapped on the keyboard, making a crisp sound. The two of them did their own things and didn't talk. Time flew by quickly. Jiangsu moved his stiff legs and looked at the person beside the bed. I'm hungry. Shisheng touched his stomach. Yes, I'm hungry too. Jiangsu. Shouldn't she go and cook? Jiangsu was speechless for a while, and contacted his people again. Brother Jiang? We'll be there soon. The other party thought Jiangsu was urging them, so he quickly gave an address. Bring up some food for two. Who's coming? Brother. Brother Jiang. Who are you with? His brother Jiang was with a woman. A woman? Oh my God. He didn't know how many things had happened during Brother Jiang's disappearance. Jiangsu directly pressed the button and looked at Shisheng. She's my woman. I thought you were alone. Shisheng was surprised. I didn't expect you to have someone. The storyline Shisheng received this time didn't have anything to do with Jiangsu. What she knew was from Old Man Li and her own investigations. Jiangsu. Could he just strangle her to death? Dingu looked at the house number. After confirming that it was correct, he reached out to press the doorbell. Just as his hand touched the doorbell, he was bounced to the wall of the corridor by a strong force. The lackeys who came with him were dumbfounded. What was going on? Dingu. He didn't know what was going on either. Just now, he felt as if he had been electrocuted. His entire body was numb, and it was only now that he had recovered. Dingu couldn't contact Jiangsu, and he didn't dare to touch the door casually. He could only wander outside the corridor. Ding ling ling. Dingu immediately answered the call. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Brother Jiang, I'm outside. I forgot. It was the female voice that answered him. Just as Dingu was puzzled, the door was opened. A girl stood inside. She had an oval face, arched eyebrows, and the corners of her mouth were slightly upturned. Her eyes were clear, and she was a very beautiful girl. Dingu. It really was a female. Jiang. Where is Brother Jiang? Inside. Shisheng let them in and put the talisman back on the door. Dingu. Don't tell him that he was bounced back just now because of this feudal superstition? Didn't they say that they were not allowed to propagate feudal superstitions after the founding of the People's Republic? Shisheng brought them inside. Dingu secretly gave a few of his lackeys a look. When Shisheng took them into the room, and saw Jiangsu sitting on the bed intact, they were slightly relieved. Brother Jiang. Did you bring the thing? Dingu glanced at Shisheng standing next to him. Jiangsu didn't mean to avoid her. Dingu was surprised. It seemed that they were on the same side. Then why did Brother Jiang say that he was kidnapped? He didn't understand the thoughts of these big shots. Got it. Dingu suppressed his messy thoughts, took out a USB flash drive from the inside pocket and handed it over. When we went there, someone got there before us. Fortunately, we got it back. Jiangsu nodded slightly. Where is the food? The lackeys behind him quickly handed him the food. Dingu took it and felt the temperature. It's a little cold. Brother Jiang, let me heat it up for you. Okay. Dingu gave the food to the lackeys and asked them to heat it up outside. Not long after he went out, there was a scream. Dingu was about to rush out and see when he heard a calm female voice next to him. They may have seen the body in the kitchen. Kitchen. Body. How did these two words come together? You didn't deal with it? Jiangsu looked at Shisheng. You want me to dispose of the body in broad daylight? Damn it. Jiangsu. The lackey who went out ran in from outside and said quickly, Brother Ding, there is a body in the kitchen. Dingu. I already know. How could the woman with Brother Jiang be a normal woman? He was too naive. You haven't seen a body. Why are you making such a fuss? Dingu scolded. The lackey was stunned by the scolding. After a while he walked out in a daze. Brother Jiang, who is this lady? Dingu asked carefully. Jiangsu glanced at Shisheng and opened his mouth. He didn't know how to introduce her. The kidnapper who kidnapped him? Or his girlfriend? Well, why did the word girlfriend suddenly pop out? Qingyu. Shisheng answered indifferently, his wife. Jiangsu frowned slightly. We are not married yet. She was not even an official girlfriend. How could she say that she was his girlfriend? Shameless. Shisheng said calmly. We have slept together. That doesn't count. They didn't do anything. How could it be called sleeping together? Shisheng glanced at him coldly. Jiangsu subconsciously pulled the quilt. Dingu. Brother Jiang. What are you talking about? I don't seem to understand. Brother Jiang had a girlfriend. This was more shocking than finding a body in the kitchen. Dingu wanted Jiangsu to deny it, but Jiangsu just quarreled with Shisheng for a while and didn't refute. So, this was true. Why was it so shocking that Brother Jiang had a girlfriend? Dingu followed Jiangsu for the earliest time. He knew that Jiangsu had a bad temper. When he turned hostile, he would suffer. The most important thing was that Jiangsu wouldn't accept anyone at all. He had something on all of them. But now he was suddenly told that Jiangsu had a girlfriend. Wasn't this a fantasy? However, Dingu couldn't help but believe that Jiangsu really had a girlfriend. And this girl had a bad temper. She was fierce whenever she didn't agree with him. Otherwise, she would mock him. What was more terrifying was that Jiangsu didn't turn hostile. Was this the so-called one mountain is taller than the other? Feng Ci. I don't dare to turn hostile. I will be beaten up. I feel so wronged as the male lead. Please turn over. Shisheng. What did you say? Feng Ci. Wife, I am praising you. Little fairy. He said you were too fierce. Shisheng. Draw sword, little fairy. Stop. I didn't say anything wrong. Why did you cut me? Shisheng, I am happy. Little fairy. I am so tired. I want to change my daughter. Cherub. Cracking melon seeds. Chapter 971. Dingu and others stayed until the evening, and Jiangsu asked them to dispose of the body. Dingu was worried that such a big body would be suspected if he took it down from here. Brother Jiang, are you sure you don't want to send him to prison? Dingu played landlord in the corridor until the early hours of the morning, and then left with the body in the dark. If he didn't have something on him, Dingu would definitely want to rebel. Why did he come to help to dispose of the body? He didn't kill the person. If he was caught, he would be unlucky. The risk is great. Shisheng didn't know what the USB flash disk Dingu gave to Jiangsu was, but Jiangsu was playing with the computer for a long time. Shisheng took a few glances. There were all kinds of strange websites, and the language was even more strange. It was like a hodgepodge of languages from all over the world. What kind of omnipotent person can understand this? Very good. The omnipotent person is in front of him. Buzz. The vibration of the mobile phone seemed to disturb Jiangsu. He frowned slightly and looked at Shisheng. Shisheng leaned over and kissed him. Jiangsu. A woman who always wants to take advantage of him. Shameless. Shisheng rubbed his head again and answered the phone. Hello, Dad? Qingyu. Where are you? Qingyi seemed to be very angry, and his voice was roaring. Outside? Did something happen? What did you take home the other day? Ah. Where did it come from? He went on a business trip for a few days. As a result, the whole house changed. It was like entering a MLM camp to promote feudal superstition. It's the amulet. Shisheng paused. My mother didn't take them all out, did she? She remembered that when she took them back, Li Lan seemed to like those talismans very much. Qingyi almost gnashed his teeth. What do you think? Shisheng. She prepared those just in case. She didn't let Li Lan post all of them. I'm innocent. I won't take the blame. Hurry up and get back to I. Qingyi was so angry. Don't think you can fly around now. You can't get home in less than an hour. I'll teach you a lesson. Toot toot toot. There was only a busy tone left on the line. Shisheng held his phone for a long time before he sighed, and went into the bedroom to get his coat. Where are you going? Jiangsu stopped and watched her dress. Let's go home. Empress Amma summons us. Jiangsu pursed his lips. When will you come back? Shisheng looked at the time. You know what the leader is talking about. How can he leave without a few hours? I won't come back if it's too late. She probably wouldn't come back either. Li Lan, that daughter complex, wouldn't let her go. You're not worried about leaving me alone at home? What's there to worry about? Aren't your men guarding down there? The Shisheng glanced at Bai Jiangsu. Do you think I'm blind? Goodbye. How could such a person find a boyfriend? Absolutely not. Shisheng rolled his eyes. Why don't we go together? No, I'm busy. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? Jiangsu didn't answer. All right, let's go. Shisheng closed his computer. Just tell me if you want to go with me. I won't laugh at you. Who wants to go with you? Jiangsu snatched the computer back. I'm not going. That's not up to you. Shisheng took him down. You have to go even if you don't want to. Qingyu. Jiangsu's tone suddenly became serious. I can't go out. If someone saw it, she would be implicated. Shisheng put on his clothes for him and said arrogantly, if I can't even protect you, how can I dominate the universe? Jiangsu. What do you mean by dominating the universe? Have you watched too many cartoons? Who needs your protection? Qingyu. When they went out, Jiangsu grabbed Shisheng's hand. Once I walk out of this door, I may be exposed. The people who want to get me are enough to destroy the whole Qin family. Jiangsu said he was a little silent. He was surrounded by danger. He shouldn't be in these dangers. Don't worry, unless they come with a cosmic battleship, they can't move my finger. Shisheng snorted. So even if they come with a cosmic battleship, they can only move your finger? Hashtag my host's level of acting cool seems to have improved again. Hashtag Jiangsu. He may not only meet a pervert, but a pervert in the late stage of Chinibyu. Shisheng brought a man back and said that he was her boyfriend. Li Lan and Qingyi's expressions were surprisingly consistent. Their family's golden cabbage was eaten by a pig. In the living room, Jiangsu was uncomfortable. He was looked back and forth by Li Lan and Qingyi as if they wanted to evaluate some world-class awards from him. Qingyi coughed. Forgive me for being rude, Mr. Jiang. What do you do for a living? It's a necessary process for parents to see their daughter bring a man back. Look at him. How can he still work? Shisheng asked out of the blue. The three people looked at Shisheng at the same time. Is this really your boyfriend? How can you talk like this? Shisheng. Why are you looking at me? I'm telling the truth. Jiangsu resisted the urge to strangle Shisheng. I'm in the IT industry, but it's not convenient now. That's good. Qingyi nodded. Now the IT industry is very popular. Is Mr. Jiang from B City? How long have you known my Xiaoyu? We haven't heard her mention you. Jiangsu. Carefully, they have known each other for less than 2 months. However, she brought him back to see her parents. She didn't help him, but she added fuel to the fire. What is this kind of girlfriend for? Jiangsu seriously doubted life at this time. Jiangsu took a deep breath. I'm not from B City, but I stayed in B City after graduating from college. I've known her, Xiaoyu, for a while. So why did he ask that question before she left? Jiangsu's answer was rigorous. He answered according to the information that Shisheng tampered with him. Even if Qini checked, he couldn't find anything. Mr. Jiang, your leg? Qini asked carefully. After all, this is related to his pain. Shisheng took Jiangsu's hand and answered for him. It's nothing serious. It's okay to recover. Qini glanced at Shisheng. Shisheng smiled. Qini shook his head and continued to ask the next question. After Qini asked, he probably thought that Jiangsu's life resume was quite good, and his attitude was not tough. Mr. Jiang, Xiaoyu is usually spoiled by us. She is a little willful. If there is anything wrong, you should let her go. As parents, naturally, we don't want her to be wronged. When the child grows up, they can't keep her at home all her life. As far as her character is concerned, it's not willful, it's weird. I will. Shisheng didn't say anything and watched the three-party friendly meeting in silence. She is now eating melon seeds and watching the show. #hashtag today, I'm looking for rose-flavored votes. #hashtag the new month has begun. You have monthly votes again. You can vote. #January 31st, 2017. 01. 2017 winning Little Angel in book review area. Chapter 972. When Shisheng took Jiangsu away, Qini reacted. Didn't he ask her to come back and talk about the feudal superstitions in the house? Why is the last topic crooked? Qini called Shisheng again and scolded her. Only then did he vent his anger. Shisheng is helpless. What did I do wrong? Your father doesn't know that I... Jiangsu's voice sounded from the side. Shisheng put down his mobile phone. My father's level is too low. Your file belongs to the S level. How could he know? Mr. Li knows because he has acquaintances. The place where he used to work is estimated to be a secret department. Otherwise, how could he know this? If he knows, what do you think he will do to me? Shisheng looked at the bright window in the distance, and his voice was broken by the night wind. He only has one daughter, and he will not hesitate to send us abroad. If he knew that he must be with Jiangsu, Qini would do so. There is no doubt. You have a good father. Shisheng turned back and smiled. He will be your father in the future. Jiangsu was stunned. The light in the car was dim and ambiguous. Her smile was clearly reflected in his eyes. It seemed that there was a warm breath wrapped around him, and his whole body was in a warm sea. Jiangsu looked away in a panic. I want to go back. Shisheng snorted and started the car. Outside the window, the streamers were like light and shadow. Jiangsu looked out of the car, and her thoughts drifted away. It was getting quieter and quieter outside, and gradually she couldn't see the car. Jiangsu returned to her senses. Where are we going? Revenge. Revenge? Jiangsu was a little confused. Revenge for what? Revenge for you, didn't I say? He dared to touch her people. He was tired of living. Jiangsu's mind flashed. Outside the operating room, she said that when he came out, she would take him to revenge. Do you know who they are? He seemed to have never said, nor did she ask, nor did she check. Shisheng said innocently, I don't know. Oh. Don't know where you are going to revenge? You don't know who they are. How can you revenge? The corners of Shisheng's lips curled up slowly and he said maliciously, someone will take me there. Jiangsu. Where did her confidence come from? Why did he always look like he had everything under control? She wanted to deal with those people by herself? Was she crazy? Jiangsu took a deep breath and held Shisheng's hand. Let's go back. They are not easy to deal with. He did not need a woman to stand up for him. But we can't go back. The Shisheng slammed on the brakes, and the sound of tires rubbing against the ground echoed through the night. There were a few cars in front of them, and there were also cars behind them. There was nowhere to run. The strong light shone from the car in front, making Jiangsu unable to open his eyes. His hand was held by someone, and there seemed to be something on his wrist. A warmth spread from his wrist. Pa. That voice caused Jiangsu's entire heart to tremble. He reached out his hand to the side. Qingyu. It was empty, only the air passing through his fingers. Jiangsu adapted to the light and looked outside. The woman was walking towards the direction of the car light. Jiangsu wanted to get out of the car, but the door was locked. He hit the window hard. Qingyu. Was she crazy? Standing in the light. Shisheng seemed to be dyed with a layer of white light. She looked at the car over there. Why don't you come out? The space was silent for a while. Someone opened the door. Some people came out one after another and stood respectfully on both sides of the car. Pa, there was a burst of applause in the car. A man got out of the car. Little girl, you are very brave. Shisheng looked at her casually. Thank you for your compliment. The man also looked at Shisheng. Ha, young people like you are not common. Are you interested in coming here to develop? He had seen a lot of calm and composed people, but those people could not compare with her age. He had only seen one person in so many years. That person was the purpose of their coming here today, Jiangsu. Shisheng grinned and showed his white teeth. Stupid people like you are also rare. Do you want to have a lifetime in prison deluxe package? The man's expression suddenly changed. Oh, you may not have time to check my identity. Shisheng did not give the man a chance to speak. My name is Qingyu. I am from the criminal investigation team of the Municipal Bureau. Police. The man was surprised. They really did not have time to check her identity. Do I need to show you my ID? The man's face darkened. Is this a trap? Jiangsu has joined the police? They suddenly received a tip-off that Jiangsu was seen with a woman, so they hurried over. Jiangsu would rather die than cooperate with the police. They never thought that Jiangsu would be with the police at this time. Shisheng thought for a moment. Trap. It can be considered a trap. I need you to lead the way. The man looked around vigilantly. Since it has come to this, why don't your people come out? Is there any point in hiding? Who said I brought people? Shisheng sneered. What can those idiots do? Want to die? The man was speechless. Was she referring to the police when she said those idiots? The man next to the man came forward and whispered a few words. The man's expression slowly relaxed. Little girl, you want to take me down alone. The result of being careless is very tragic. Shisheng shrugged. The man still wanted to say something, but suddenly a cold light flashed through his eyes. The headlights of the car exploded without warning. A gust of air rushed from the front and directly lifted him into the air. Bang bang. The bullets flew from behind. When they approached the woman, they strangely bounced back. The speed was too fast for them to dodge. When the man fell to the ground, there was silence. In the smoke, the woman slowly walked over. The sword in her hand was sharp. Now can you lead the way for me? There was a faint smile in her voice, but it sent chills down the man's spine, as if he had fallen into a world of ice and snow. The man turned his head and looked around. All his people were lying on the ground, and all the cars were damaged. Only the car parked in the middle was intact. You. What are you? She could not be a human. A human could not have such great ability. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm a human. You're a damn thing. Your whole family is a thing. Is there anything that looks as good as me? Damn idiot. You're not a human. You're not. The man shook his head in horror and shrank back. Swish. The iron sword cut through the air, and the blade was pointed at the man's neck. Don't move. Swords have no eyes. Don't challenge me to see if your gun is faster or my sword is faster. The man's face instantly turned pale, and his hands froze behind his back. Asterisk good evening, cherub. Guess if I'll snatch the sofa, ha ha. Chapter 973. Shisheng tied the man up and threw him into the trunk. Then he opened the car door and got into the car. Jiangsu sat quietly in his seat. He lowered his head to hide the expression on his face, but his hands were clenched tightly. The veins on the back of his hands were exposed. It was obvious that he had used a lot of strength. Jiang. Shisheng reached out to touch him. Jiangsu suddenly held her hand, pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. He almost thought that she was going to die just now. As long as he thought of something happening to her, he had the urge to destroy everything. Shisheng could hear his strong heartbeat through his clothes. Shisheng was slightly stunned. Shisheng hugged him slowly. I'm fine. Jiangsu hugged her even tighter. He couldn't lose her. Although he didn't understand why, he knew that he couldn't lose her. Shisheng stroked his back slowly. It's okay. Jiangsu silently let go of her. He pushed her away and turned to look out of the window. Shisheng. He kept silent without saying anything. This temper was indeed his attribute. Shisheng forced his face to turn and kissed his lips gently. Jiangsu looked at her without blinking. He didn't respond or resist. Shisheng. Oh no! This word kept flashing in Shisheng's mind. Jiangsu reached out to pull Shisheng's hand away. Just when Shisheng thought that he was going to push him away, he suddenly wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her into his arms. He lowered his head and kissed her passionately and crazily. After a long time, Jiangsu let go of her. He rubbed her lips with his fingers. If you want to be my woman, you have to listen to me. Shisheng slapped him and looked at him with disdain. Are you dreaming? She pressed Jiangsu against the car window and said fiercely. I don't care if you want to be my woman or not. You can only be eyes, understand? Jiangsu didn't have time to show his devilish charm. He looked at Shisheng silently. He wanted to refute, but he couldn't say anything. Why did he meet such a domineering woman? Shisheng drove to an abandoned factory. Why do these idiots all like abandoned factories? Shisheng muttered as he looked outside. Was it to set off the upcoming tragedy? Host, please tell me loudly. If you were a criminal, would you dare to set the location in a downtown area? Why wouldn't he dare? There's nothing I don't dare to do. You win. Shisheng glanced at Jiangsu, who had fallen asleep. He took a thin blanket from the back seat and covered Jiangsu with it. Then he got off the car quietly and carried the man out. The man had been tied up for a night, but he looked like he had been tortured for a few days. He was extremely haggard. Shisheng stuck a soundproof talisman on the car and shoved a loudspeaker into the man's hand. Come on, say something. The man was dumbfounded. What are you shouting for? Running to someone's door and shouting. Was this something a human could do? Shisheng thought for a moment and said, just shout. Your ancestor is here. Come out and welcome her. The man. Why don't you just shoot him? That's faster. Hurry up. Shisheng gave the man a kick. The man screamed in pain. Ah. Through the loudspeaker, it spread far and wide. His voice was extremely horrifying. Your ancestor is here. Why aren't you? Ah. Your ancestor is here. Come out and welcome her. Your ancestor. In the basement of the factory, there were all kinds of intricate passageways connecting different rooms. In one of the rooms, a man in a white tuxedo stood in front of a monitor. He had delicate features and looked very young. There was a gentle smile on his face. How did you provoke her? The man's voice was like a spring breeze. Someone zoomed in on the monitor and revealed the person in the car. Jiangsu is in the car. The man narrowed his eyes. Didn't I order you not to lay a hand on him? Did my words go in one ear and out the other? The room suddenly fell silent. No one dared to breathe. After a while someone finally answered. It's Brother Da, ha. The man snorted. Young master, there's only one person, and it's a woman. Shall we go out and get rid of her? The person next to the man suggested carefully. What was there to be afraid of about a woman? Even if they caught one of their people, it must be because she was lucky. The man looked at the person on the monitor and said slowly, retreat. Young master, when you say retreat, do you mean retreat from here? Someone asked uncertainly. Otherwise, everyone. There was only one woman outside. Why would they retreat? And they had to abandon this place? The man glanced at them lightly. Everyone could only swallow their doubts. Pass down the order. Prepare to retreat. The people in the room left one after another. In the end, only the man was left. He looked at the person on the monitor and gritted his teeth fiercely. This woman didn't follow the routine again. Would it kill her to follow the routine once? How infuriating. No, calm down. If he got angry with her, he would lose. How could this gentleman lose? This time, he was determined not to lose in one episode. Mubai turned to leave. There were people waiting outside. He handed over a few small bombs in his hand. Blow them up when you leave. Yes. Blow up the base, Mubai added. Ah. Didn't he mean to blow up those people? Mubai. If she could blow them up, would he still need to run? Boom. At this moment, there was a violent explosion. The base began to shake. The person holding the bomb looked at the bomb in his hand in confusion. It didn't explode. Mubai's mouth twitched, and he ran towards the safe passage. The explosion continued behind him. Mubai's heart was breaking down. He shouldn't have expected her to wait a little longer. Next time he must strike first. The factory that was standing in front of him just now was razed to the ground in the blink of an eye. The man who shouted was shocked. Why did it suddenly explode? Whoosh! The iron sword shot back from the smoke and dust in the distance. It hung in the air in front of Shisheng, reflecting waves of cold light. The man's eyes widened in shock. He actually saw a sword flying. Had he transmigrated into a fantasy world? The man probably couldn't take the shock and fainted. Shisheng carried the man back to the trunk and got in the car with the sword. Jiangsu had already woken up. His gaze swept over her and slowly landed on the iron sword. Why can this sword fly? It can fly in the first place. It has spirituality. Previously, he used this sword to cut her, but in the end he couldn't cut her. Because she was its master, it wouldn't bite its master. This should have been a very mysterious thing, but he wasn't surprised at all. He could accept everything about her. It was an instinctive acceptance. It was very strange. Isn't that obvious? A sword without spirituality was a cold weapon. Even if it could fly, it needed its master to control it. Jiangsu looked at the iron sword curiously. What's its name? Iron sword. Can you not ask for my name? If you ask, I'll have to change its name. Shisheng quickly answered, spiritual sword. Iron sword. Can you be more careful? Master, you'll lose me like this. Chapter 974. B-City had been very lively recently. Several of the most famous underground forces, the Red Lotus Society, had been exposed. However, the Red Lotus Society had been avoiding them and avoiding conflict with them. People from all sides were curious about who was so powerful that they could force the underground boss of B-City to such a state. The members of the Red Lotus Society felt wronged. They also wanted to fight back, but the higher-ups didn't allow it. Who knew what the higher-ups were thinking? They had provoked them to their doorstep, but they didn't fight back. Ever since they dominated B-City, they had never been so aggrieved. The most shameful thing was that the other party was only one person. At least there was only one person who started the fight. After she had taught everyone a lesson, she calmly called the police. It was extremely strange. This was a skill that Shisheng had learned in the previous worlds. Find the police if there was a problem. Although it was useless to do business, it was still quite good at cleaning up the mess. Ever since Shisheng called the police and successfully destroyed a few underground dens, the people in the police station now looked at her with complicated expressions. How did she manage to fight so many people by herself? What happened to the soft and easy to push down fair, rich, and beautiful woman? Fairy tales were all lies. Qinyu, you're late again? As soon as Shisheng entered the police station, UAI walked over. It's none of your business. Shisheng looked straight ahead and walked past her. UAI's face turned red. She took a deep breath and said, Captain, he wants you for a meeting. If Xian hadn't asked her to call him, she wouldn't have wanted to talk to this arrogant woman. Did she really think that the whole world revolved around her? Shisheng paused and suddenly turned back. What? UAI was a little uncomfortable under Shisheng's stare. She couldn't help but raise her voice. You were the one who touched my tablet, right? UAI's eyes widened. Who touched your things? Don't accuse me. It was you. Shisheng was certain. UAI acted as if she had been greatly insulted. Qinyu, don't talk nonsense. Why would I touch your tablet for no reason? Shisheng rubbed his chin. I heard that Dong Chun's case was solved because you pointed out the key point, and found evidence that Dong Chun had bribed the vice president. Miss Yu, where did you get this evidence? UAI tugged at the corner of her shirt. I found out. Oh, it seems like you have a very powerful relative in the bank. How could they allow you to check behind the scenes? UAI's expression changed slightly. She looked at Shisheng and said, I don't think it's your place to report my findings to you. Of course not. Shisheng's eyes curved as she briskly walked past her. Didn't I tell you that Dong Chun isn't the real culprit? Her voice drifted into UAI's ears. UAI felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She turned around and questioned Shisheng. What do you mean? I mean it literally. Shisheng spread out his hands. You sent an innocent person to prison. UAI was a little flustered. Dong Chun pleaded guilty. If he's not the murderer, why did he plead guilty? Yes, Dong Chun had pleaded guilty. He had already admitted it himself. How could he be wrong? Shisheng sighed mysteriously. People can lie. Why would he lie? Qinyu, stop spouting nonsense. Dong Chun had such a good background. If he didn't do it, why would he take the blame for someone else? Why should I tell you why he lied? Shisheng's tone was harsh. Go and check it yourself. There's an answer in my information. It's a pity that you didn't find it. Even if she found it, she wouldn't be able to solve it. UAI clenched her fists tightly and watched Shisheng walk towards the meeting room with a dark expression. UAI only turned around when Shisheng's figure disappeared. She didn't know when someone had stood behind her. His gaze landed in the direction where Shisheng had left. His body seemed to be wrapped in a thin layer of ice, and it was creepy. Hua Xiao walked right past UAI without even looking at her. UAI's hand that had yet to loosen, once again clenched with all her might. Her nails dug deep into her flesh, bringing about a wave of pain. She didn't know when it started, but Hua Xiao's gaze was no longer on her. Instead, it was on Qinyu. She didn't understand why Hua Xiao would pay so much attention to her when he hated Qinyu before. In the meeting room, He Xian was summarizing the recent work. They hadn't made any progress in the case, but under Hua Xiao's lead, they had found out the inside story of the nanny. The nanny had a daughter. She had asked her daughter to seduce Dong Chun. When Dong Chun was drunk, the nanny had taken photos of them on the boat and extorted a sum of money from him. Dong Chun wanted to give the nanny a sum of money to send her away, but the nanny refused. From then on, the nanny had acted like a tyrant in the Dong family. Every time Dong Chun's wife said that the nanny was wrong, Dong Chun had no choice but to speak up for her. However, the nanny's murderer was still not found. Other than the letter left behind by R, there were no other clues at the scene. In the end, all the suspects were ruled out one by one. He Xian believed that R had killed the nanny. Only he had the means to do so, but there was no evidence. The second thing He Xian said was that Shisheng had been looking for trouble with the Red Lotus Society everywhere. He Xian put Shisheng in charge of this case. He had asked Shisheng where the news came from, but Shisheng refused to tell him. He Xian had no other choice. Without any news, even if he let someone else take over the case, it would only be a disaster. Although they had made a lot of contributions in this case, all the credit belonged to Shisheng alone. Some people in the team felt that it was unfair. Captain He Qinyu is still too young. Isn't it a little inappropriate for her to be in charge of the Red Lotus Society's case alone? An old criminal police officer in the team objected. The Red Lotus Society is such a ferocious organization. It's indeed a little dangerous for Qinyu to be alone. Captain He, why don't we send a few people over to help? There's no progress in the case. We can't just sit around and do nothing, right? Everyone suggested one after another. At first, they had thought that the case would be a big one. However, they had flipped through the files and still couldn't find any traces of the case. He Xian was in a difficult position. The news belonged to Qinyu alone. Now, these people were going over to share the credit. Qinyu? He Xian gave the choice to Shisheng. After all, she was the director's daughter. If she stubbornly refused, no one would dare to say anything. Since they're so enthusiastic, let's go. Shisheng looked indifferent. He Xian was a little surprised. He looked at Shisheng a few times and sent a few people over. After he Xian finished, Shisheng said slowly, I'll withdraw from the Red Lotus case. You guys can investigate it yourselves. Everyone. What? It knew that the host wouldn't be so kind. Without the information in her hands, these people would go over blindly. However, it was too late for them to come back now. The host was simply inhumane when it came to cheating people. Qinyu? If you withdraw, what's the point of investigating? Previously, they had only sent people over after receiving her call. Shisheng looked at He Xian with a smile. Captain He, how about I help you investigate the case? You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.